49ers last night. Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers have kept their season alive following a 16-14 win yesterday, but still need some help today for the NFC South. If the Falcons beat the Saints, that will force a three-way tie in the division, and Carolina holds the tiebreaker. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Meredith Kane.
The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
I loathe winter. I do so much. God, I hate this weather. My God in heaven, I hope this is coming through on my voice, how much I hate snow. I really do. I just loathe snow, and I just don't understand it. Ooh, wonderful. Like, no, hate it. Hate it all.
The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima. Weekday mornings starting at 6 a.m. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. This is The Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan. Here are your hosts, Jake Volnick and Nick Padone.
Jake Volnick, Nick Padone with you guys here on the Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show. Final hour for us before we hand things over to Jonathan Peterlin and Lance Reisland to take you guys up into kickoff of a Week 18 matchup. Browns and Bengals. And let's start things off this hour with our kickoff conditions. Driven to you by good friends over there at Classic Chevy of Menor. Sun expected now to be out for kickoff. Temperatures right around 35 degrees. Real feel as high as 43. It's shaping up to be a beautiful, beautiful day down in Cincinnati.
Football weather in Kentucky. Love it.
It's about as good as it's going to get. That's by far the best, might be the best weather start for Shador outside of the Dome game in Vegas, but best one we've seen in a while. And again, our kickoff condition driven by good friends over there at Classic Chevy of Menor. And let's waste no time. Let's go out and talk to our Cleveland Sports beat reporter, brought to you courtesy of Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. Daryl Ryder joins us now. Daryl, welcome to the finish line, my friend.
Oh no, we're just beginning. There is no finish.
Well, it's
where the fun begins.
It's the beginning of the end. It's the end of the beginning. It's a transition period. Listen, the end of every single Sunday, the offense making your eyes want to bleed, right? That's something.
Cue the semisonic.
Daryl, any chance Myles Garrett breaks this sack record today so we could leave here with something?
Yeah, I think he gets multiple sacks today. Joe Burrow's the quarterback. He sacks the most. He's got 11 of those in 9 games played against Burrow and the Bengals. So he's going to get at least 2 sacks today.
Daryl, obviously, we've had all the reports of like Andrew Berry now, a job expected to be safe as we kind of expected at this point. Kevin Stefanski, it feels like they're leading further and further away from that being Kevin still being the coach here. Myles Garrett spoke on Friday, and I didn't think gave the most glaring review, the most beautiful monologue about Kevin Stefanski when asked about him. What did you make of Myles' comments on Friday?
It was not a ringing endorsement of Kevin Stefanski. Myles is frustrated by the losing, but I think that Myles needs to direct that more at the front office than Kevin, because I don't know, maybe equip the offense with something better than Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders as rookie quarterbacks. I'm just saying, I don't know how much expecting of winning there was, but I think that the front office had a very high opinion of the work that they've done in recent years, which has been substandard, and by substandard, I'm being kind.
Daryl, is there any chance Myles, redoes what he did last year and makes things very uncomfortable again? Obviously, he put pen to paper, but I thought he gave you guys another interesting answer that didn't get as much run when he was asked about if the organization lived up to all of their promises, and he said maybe not all of them. There's no way that he could do that again, though, right? Because of the extension, or am I wrong thinking that maybe not all of this is put to rest?
He can do whatever he wants, so I think he made it very clear that he is not going to hesitate to pull the trigger again. He said, not doing a rebuild, not doing the tanking thing, that's just not who I am. I don't know where Myles has been, but it's kind of what the last 24 months have been about, right? It's been a rebuild, a retool, whatever fancy word you want to come up with. This is not a team that was positioned to win a lot of games on the offensive side. They were hoping that the defense could keep them in games, which it did, but there's no firepower on the offensive side of things. None. Zilch. Nada. So that's a complete gut job this offseason. You need an entire new offensive line. You need an entire new wide receiver room. You need probably another tight end. You might need another running back. Like, it's a complete gut job. Oh, yeah, I didn't even mention the fact they don't have a quarterback yet. So, that's why I just, ownership's going to have some tough questions for me to answer. Andrew Berry's going to have some tough questions for me to answer if he keeps his job. Because I feel like they're leaving Kevin out to dry. They're blaming him for this, and it's not right. The front office is equally culpable for this. Shall we go through all the Andrew Berry blown draft picks in the last couple of years? And oh, by the way, a lot of those are in the third round, which is when the Browns had their first pick. Okay? Because I realized they didn't have first and second round picks for a couple years because Andrew Berry proposed making the worst trade in NFL history. Now, ownership signed off on it. Ownership signed off on the contract because the train got too far down the tracks with the whole Baker Mayfield situation and whatnot. But, like, Andrew Berry is just as guilty, if not more guilty, for this team winning 7 games in 2 years. How much winning was Kevin Stefanski supposed to do in the last 3 years? There was some analytics dude on X tried to be a smart aleck and post how under Stefanski the Browns they haven't broken into like some top category, and I'm like, you do realize in the last 3 years Kevin Stefanski had to start the combination of the following: Deshaun Watson, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, P.J. Walker, Joe Flacco twice, Jeff Driscoll, Jameis Winston, Bailey freaking Zappi, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. How much winning was he supposed to do with that in the last 3 years? And now his job is in peril. Probably because, well, the Joe Flacco thing was the straw that broke the camel's back, where he's like, I just can't do this anymore, right? The one guy I think actually gives me a shot, you just traded to our division rival, okay?
So, Daryl, let me ask you this. With all of that you just articulated, why and how isn't Andrew Berry's job in question? Is this just as simple as maybe the Haslam Sports Group doesn't want to do a full-fledged coaching search, general manager search on their lonesome without Paul DePodesta?
I don't know, but like I said, and look, I'm not advocating for Andrew Berry to be fired. I'm not advocating for Kevin to be fired. I'm just saying, if you're going to have one accountable, you got to hold the other one accountable. That's just where I'm at. I think it's grossly unfair to fire Kevin Stefanski or move on from Kevin Stefanski while maintaining a front office that has failed to deliver in 6 years off a team that it was in their prime and ready to win. You've now wasted the prime years of Myles Garrett. Joe Bitonio is probably going to retire, okay? Wyatt Teller, wasted his prime. You've wasted Denzel Ward's prime. Like, all they're doing is wasting time. And you know, the front office has missed significantly, and they've missed at the most important position, okay? They pushed all the chips to the middle of the table and gave a record contract to a guy who's never available to play. And they're saddled with that now for the next 2 to 3 years from a salary cap perspective because they keep having to kick that can down the road to manage things. But and look, Berry does a good job managing the salary cap. This last draft class was good. I don't know, and part of the reason maybe why Berry's not on the hot seat is because it was good. And whatever they did was different from previous years, and so they want to maintain some continuity there. Again, I understand that. But if we're going to sit here and talk about firing Kevin Stefanski because he didn't win enough here, like, you got to be kidding me. They might have won 1 or 2 more games each season, right? I'll give you the Minnesota game in London. Okay, Stefanski blew that one. Okay, I'll give you that. But, like, come on. Like, let's be realistic about what the expectations should have been. And were, right? And I feel like Kevin has been held to a standard that is impossible to achieve considering what he was given to work with.
Daryl, obviously, a little bit more football to be played out today. Shedeur Sanders, his final game is guaranteed as a starter for the Cleveland Browns. How difficult is it going to be to evaluate him, knowing, obviously, Brown's out today, Harold Fannin Jr., who has been his top target, and we're going to see a hell of a lot more of guys like Sal Cannella.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult to evaluate in totality, not just from today's game, but because they're probably going to have a new head coach, right? And they're going to go through the coaching process, and part of the coaching process is going to be, what do you think of Shedeur Sanders? Do you think the kid can play or not? And you know, and that is what's going to shape this thing going forward, right? Whoever the new coach is going to be, and I'm making an assumption, okay, assuming that they do move on from Kevin in the next 24 hours here, the next head coach is going to have a tremendous say in that. So the evaluation of Shedeur Sanders gets even more complicated because it's not just like an Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski evaluation, right? Because they're no longer thought partners.
Doesn't feel like
so they're no longer joined at the hip, right? That's what ownership has been telling us for over 6 years until now. They're not joined at the hip, right? They're ready to toss Kevin overboard and let Andrew keep doing what Andrew's doing. So whoever they choose to be the next head coach, the Shedeur Sanders question is going to be at the forefront of, I think, the decision-making process, and whether or not does the organization want it to be Shedeur Sanders, right? Are they looking for potential coaching candidates to come in and say, yeah, I think that kid can play. I can make it work with that kid.
Daryl, yeah, we got about 30 seconds here. You mentioned 24 hours. Is that the timeline we should be, you think, expecting that when a decision's made, it's going to be made?
I think it could be done. Well, we'll see. Listen, it's 9:15 right now. Usually the NFL insiders will leak stuff anywhere between 11 a.m. and kickoff when it comes to coaching changes. If in fact a decision has been made, which by the way I think the decision was made weeks ago. Okay, but as far as a quote, sources say, so we're about 2 hours from that window. And then as soon as the game is over, right? That's when we all go on red alert and wait. And do they wait till they get back to Cleveland? Do they wait until first thing tomorrow morning or during the day Monday? Remains to be seen. But I believe decision's been made, and it's just a matter of them making it public knowledge what that decision was.
Daryl, we always appreciate the time. Enjoy the game today.
is not, as his job is safe, according to the Cleveland.com report. Around the NFL in Week 18, some teams playing for playoff spots while others are playing for draft positions. The Browns are guaranteed a pick in at least the top 7 for the 2026 draft. The Raiders can secure the number 1 pick with a loss to the Chiefs today. The Giants could secure that number 2 pick with a loss to the Cowboys. If New York beats Dallas, they could fall as far as number 7. The only place to hear from Kevin Stefanski and players after today's Bengals game is on the radio home of the Browns, 92.3 The Fan and the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Meredith Kane.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100%.
Yes. See? Doesn't it feel good to say yes to more?
Absolutely. Face tattoo? Absolutely not.
Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Taxes and fees apply. In-store activation of Gold Unlimited plan or higher required. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
Could changes be coming for this Browns regime? Don't miss a minute, as breaking news could happen at any moment, and you'll hear it here first.
Delay of game. Offense.
This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan. This is The Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan.
Jake Volnick, Nick Padone, back with you guys here on the Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show. We're going to get odds and lines here coming up in just a second. Nick, some fiery stuff out of Daryl last segment, for sure, especially when it came to Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, the separation, and Kevin's job likely being up for grabs as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns here as soon as Monday morning, or right after the game.
It's hard to disagree with a lot of what he had to say there. It certainly feels like changes are on the horizon. I understand that. I obviously understand why. I just look at this, and it's like, and I'm not trying to apologize for Kevin. At the end of the day, you're the head coach of this thing. You've been the head coach of this thing for 6 years, and you're candidly leaving it in a worse place than it was when you acquired this job. When you started coaching the Browns 6 years ago, they were set up much better than what they're set up for the next guy that's going to come in to coach the Browns. But I think Andrew Berry deserves a lot of that blame too. And I really think that the only reason why we're not seeing the complete clean house is because Jimmy Haslam understands that this is a situation that does need to be turned around somewhat quickly. Berry had a good draft class. Berry acquired a bonus first-round pick in this upcoming draft class, and he's got to at least see this through, because 2026 and the prep for 2026 likely started months ago. The fact of the matter is they've done their scouting. They've done their homework on a lot of the dudes getting ready to come out in this year's draft. That stuff doesn't start at the combine. That stuff starts weeks ago. So I think that's the only reason why we're not seeing a full cleaned house, because then you're truly starting from scratch. But I certainly do believe that Andrew Berry deserves a ton of the blame, and it kind of does feel like Stefanski's a bit of a scapegoat for what's been a collective failure here with our Browns. I have a hard time disagreeing with a lot of what Daryl just had to tell us.
Now, listen, I think that both of them being gone would be the most logical scenario. But at the same time, I give Kevin Stefanski no scapegoat in this. You've been here, you've had an opportunity. It's not just the fact that the team has looked bad. It is how bad the team has looked in the areas they have looked bad. It has not just been, oh, well, you've been outmatched, you've been out-talented. You've also been undisciplined. You've also allowed coaches to stick around a hell of a lot longer than they should have. Bubba Ventrone has been here as the special teams continues to struggle. Andy Dickerson was the offensive line coach all of last year. And part of me wonders how much this comes down to the quarterback situation. That's more of the side that I look at it. Because if these two sides were divided from the draft, and that was where they made their separation, was, hey, Kevin wants Dylan Gabriel, Andrew wants Shador, however that went down, and one guy valued one higher than the other, and vice versa, then the writing was on the wall since April. One of these guys was more likely going to be gone, or Maybe it was just on the quarterback in general, right? If they both stunk, it might both be gone. But Shedeur has given you far better promise, and Dillon Gabriel certainly did not. That was the reality of it. So I do wonder how much of it ties back to that as well.
Maybe we find out. I don't know if we ever will. But if it was a scenario where Kevin's guy was Dillon Gabriel, they let Kevin call his shot. He wanted to guarantee Dillon Gabriel was going to be on this roster. They did so in the third round, despite everybody else thinking that was a reach. And that was Kevin's pitfall in Cleveland. Kind of ironic, isn't it? Because Kevin, over the last 6 years, done some good things. Again, not trying to disparage him, 2-time coach of the year, get all that. But wasn't it his stubbornness that kind of fed up Browns fans the most? Wasn't it, the fact that he couldn't get along with Baker Mayfield and that led to Baker's departure in Cleveland? Joe Flacco takes you on a magic carpet ride in 2023 and then can't bring him back for 2024. They were so fast to chase him out of this organization because everything had to be tailored to Deshaun Watson. Some of the stubbornness, you mentioned the decisions with some of the coaches on the staff. He was strong-armed into getting rid of Alex Van Pelt. That was something that he didn't even really want to do. Chad O'Shea's been around here for 6 years. I still can't tell you the first wide receiver that guy's developed during his 6 seasons with the Browns. So some of the stubbornness, I think, ultimately is what leads to Kevin's pitfall in Cleveland. And if Dillon Gabriel was the straw that broke the camel's back, kind of ironic that an undersized mid-round quarterback that nobody thought even deserved to be a mid-round quarterback other than you ends up being your pitfall in Cleveland. There's some weird karma/poetic ending to all of this if Dillon Gabriel was really the hill to die on, because it's such a strange hill to die on.
Yeah, odd for sure. You think you'd rather just be give me Jackson Dart in the first round, right? I'll take my chances on a guy with Tyler Shuck looks pretty good right about now, fighting for Offensive Rookie of the Year against the Falcons today.
And somebody said this week, I believe it was Jason Lloyd said this week, Tyler Shuck wasn't even on their board. They had him completely written off. They believe there were fatal holes in his game, and he looks like potentially the best rookie quarterback out of all of these guys, at least that have gotten a true long leash. So it is maddening, and I do truly think, though, Jake, that the fracture in the relationship, I know a lot of people point to the Flacco trade. I just have such a hard time believing that you really fractured a 6-year working relationship over Joe Flacco, who's a veteran quarterback. We knew he was going to sit down at some point this year anyhow. We knew he wasn't the long-term solution to this thing because of his age. He was already benched. I really think this has to run deeper, and I look to the draft because the Dillon Gabriel selection was weird at the time. It's still weird now. I can't make any sense of it, and that leads me to believe maybe that really was Kevin Stefanski calling his shot. It didn't work out, and they said, look, we gave you your guy. You always said, well, you never had the guy that you went out there and picked, and whether that's unfair or not, because Dillon Gabriel was just a third-round pick and probably a 5th or 6th or 7th-round talent, it just didn't work, and it never made a lick of sense.
Nope, not at all. All right, let's get into our odds and lines here. Brought to you by our good friends over at Smiley One. Heating, cooling, plumbing, and Brian. Smiley One, doing whatever it takes. Nick, 7.5-point underdogs for the Cleveland Browns. Can the Browns keep this game within a touchdown in your eyes?
Yeah, maybe a little disrespectful. I mean, you think the NFL thinks this is going to be a 2-touchdown game or at least, a 2-score game with this being a 7.5-point spread there. Ultimately, I think Cincinnati's found something. I think when Joe Burrow said his whole "I'm not having fun" thing, they decided, well, we should probably make this fun for Joe Burrow. Otherwise, we're heading back to some pretty dark days down here in Kentucky. So they're kind of on an upswing, even though this is a meaningless game for them too. But I like the Browns to keep this close. They always play Cincy tough. They've got a great defense. I wonder to see, though, does Cincy try to run the ball? That feels like the Browns' defensive weak spot without Malik Collins. But in the last couple of weeks, Buffalo was having success with James Cook. They got away from it, even though he had over 100 yards rushing. Last week, Jalen Warren's ripping off big runs, and the Steelers get away from it. So I don't know what adjustments Jim Schwartz is really making that they keep abandoning the run, but I hope Cincinnati abandons the run today, because it certainly seems like that's when the Browns are their most susceptible.
And certainly in that range, too, Carson Schlesinger being out today is not going to help that game.
That
either.
Hurts.
It's going to hurt your run game. It is. He is tremendous. He has a nose for the football, obviously, as we've seen all year. Should be the defensive rookie of the year. And it's not having him, I don't know what that does to your run game. It should make it easier to run for the Cincinnati Bengals, but we also know how that team operates. That team likely wants to throw the ball a lot because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown out of the backfield, even catching the ball, all pretty good. I don't know. I struggle to see this game. I don't even know if the Browns can keep it within 7.5. And part of it is Cincinnati. Like, I am so torn on this, and it is like, I mean, I guess, tip of the cap to Vegas is they usually get these things right. 7.5 feels like a good mark. Like, we go back to the last 5 games for the Bengals. In 4 out of the 5, they scored 32 plus. The one outlier there is the getting blanked by Baltimore 24-0. But every other game they scored 32 plus against some okay defenses, some not so okay defenses, right? Dolphins, Cardinals in that mix. The Ravens, I think, are back in that mix as well, and as well as the Buffalo Bills. You've done it against okay teams. You've done it against bad teams. When it comes to the defensive side of the ball, I don't know how much stock I put into this defense. Part of me questions, how tough are you playing today? Especially, if Miles goes out and gets the sack. How tough are you playing past that moment? Right. And how much does the loss of Carson Schlesinger affect you? I'll lead. I'll try to stay with you and be optimistic. I'll say the Browns stay within a touchdown. But I'll tell you right now, I am as on the fence about that as I could be on the fence. As a gambling man, 7.5 is a number I would not come anywhere close to touching because it feels like a game that could be, the Bengals put up 30 again, and it could be a game that just gets really ugly and the Browns defense shows up.
Yeah, nothing would surprise me. That's consistent throughout the rest of throughout pretty much every Browns game that's ever played and ever will be played. Won't be surprised by any outcome. How about, other than the traditional game lines, any props that you like? I'm kind of staring at this. Shedeur Sanders 200 plus passing yards is plus money. Even money, plus 105 right now in one of the major sports books for Shedeur to have 200 plus passing yards. So if it is a game where the defense is going to be kind of a little bit shaky, maybe playing from behind, maybe Shedeur gets an opportunity to toss the pigskin around in his final start here in the regular season.
Nick, how would you feel if I told you as of last night I had a little bit of U.S. currency on 250 plus for Shedeur Sanders?
I love it. Plus 350.
Yes, keep it rolling. 450. No, 250 is about the number. 200 feels really good. I do like that. I like the number at 250. That was a pure heart play that had nothing else to it. In terms of things that I really liked from today, it is the most disgusting thing that I've ever laid out here. Jerry Jeudy, 4 plus catches. Guys, I'm out. I told you, it's 3 plus.
Whoa.
3 plus is the number. We are not going back to the well today. It is minus 130 at 4 plus. No, I'm out.
Wow.
We're saying over the receptions. We love it when it's 3. We don't love it when it's 4. But he did have 5, so it might not be the worst bet in the world last week. I actually, for some reason, love the value play on a Sal Cannella touchdown. I don't know why. I shouldn't, but no Harold Fannin today. A tight end has to step up, and for some reason, I watched Shedeur go to Sal Cannella probably about 3 too many times because I think he had 3 targets. Something tells me you might find that guy in the end zone, and it's at incredible value at plus. I think I took it at plus 850. I think it's sitting around plus 800 right now. It's beautiful. There's just a chance to that.
With my last name being what it is, if Sal Cannella scores a touchdown, I guarantee I will be getting a text from my father saying that the tight end group of the Cleveland Browns next year needs to consist of Harold Fannin Jr. and Sal Cannella because he will forever pull for Italian-American athletes in this country.
I mean, listen, hard to argue against it. Cedric Tillman also really interesting at over 22.5 yards. I will say that. You're limited on wide receivers today. Said had a big catch last week. This is a secondary that you can definitely expose. I don't hate that either.
And I perpetually like the Isaiah Bond long ball. I know it's sometimes hard to find odds on Isaiah Bond because that's really what his yardage is it's just 153-yard catch is usually his stat line. But again, with Dax Hill running around out there, this is a Cincinnati secondary where Shedeur can take some chances. And I hope Tommy Rees allows him to do that because this is a game where you should be able to stretch the field a smidge. Lean into Shedeur's strengths. Let him chuck the ball downfield. That's what the fans want to see. We've been tortured all year. Let us at least have a little bit of fun in Week 18.
Nick, we don't have to break it down, but the over-under about as high as we've ever seen. It's 46.5, and that might have to do a lot with Cincinnati, but I love to see a number that starts with a 4 when we talk about those totals. At least makes me feel like we'll see some offense today.
It's a surprise always when you see a number that high, especially on a Browns game. I like it. I'll take the over and keep my fingers crossed that I'm entertained for a couple hours on my Sunday.
Yeah, it feels like the best thing to do. And again, our odds and lines brought to you by Smiley One. Heating, cooling, plumbing, and Bryant. Smiley One doing whatever it takes. Our final segment coming up here in 5 minutes. We'll get to our quarterback comparison. And speaking of comparisons, two quarterbacks that were compared a lot back in April between Joe Burrow and Shedeur Sanders. We'll break it all down. Hey, it's Jake Volnick, Nick Padone with you guys right here on The Fan.
It's from The Fan from throughout the day. Get over to 923thefan.com or favorite The Fan on the Odyssey app for all of today's headline segments. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 923 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Meredith Kane.
This is The Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan.
Jake Volnick, Nick Padone, final segment of the Brown season for us. But of course, you're going to have 3 more hours of pregame with Jonathan Peterlin and Lance Riesland taking over for us at 10 o'clock, getting you ready for Browns-Bengals kickoff at 1. And we still got a little more to get into. Let's get into our quarterback comparisons to start things off here in this segment. And that, of course, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Football is back, and so is the B-Dubs $19.99 Pick 6 meal for 2. Get to Buffalo Wild Wings and Pick 6 today. This is an interesting one because obviously it's no question Joe Burrow's got the advantage today, not just only as a quarterback of the National Football League, but also given the fact that you got a boatload of weapons to throw to, something that Shedeur and the Browns cannot say. But it is so odd to me that these two have drawn comparisons. Like, how many times in the pre-draft process did we hear Shedeur compared to, not talent-wise, obviously, as Joe Burrow was a number 1 overall pick, but just in terms of the style that they play, not the strongest arm in the world, but can still make the downfield passes. They're really good in the short to intermediate. Like, Shedeur is basically compared to as a budget man's Joe Burrow in a lot of ways. And now these two will finally face off for the first time, and we'll see kind of how that plays out.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what Cleveland can do defensively against Joe Burrow. We kind of noted it a couple of segments ago. Denzel Ward has really just had the better side of the rivalry with Jamar Chase, truly. So I hope to see that maintained today. I look at Joe Burrow's last couple of starts against the Ravens on the 14th, put up 225 passing yards. Against the Dolphins on the 21st, put up 309 passing yards and 305 passing yards against the Cardinals. So over 300 yards in his last 2 outings. You'd like to see Browns kind of stand tall, put an end to that, help their young rookie passer be the one that outshines Joe Burrow today. Because I still think that means a little something, man. Like, you look at some of Shedeur's better performances this season. Outplayed Geno Smith in his first career start. Outplayed Cam Ward in that game where the Titans somehow beat the Browns. Like, he's had good moments throughout this small sample size that he's been allotted. So another opportunity awaits him. You go out there and outduel Joe Burrow, it will only benefit Shedeur Sanders, and obviously he'll need a little bit of help from Cleveland Browns defense in order to make that happen and slowing down Joey B.
Yeah, you definitely need it. And again, our quarterback comparison brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Football is back, and so is the B-Dubs $19.99 Pick 6 meal for 2. Get to Buffalo Wild Wings and Pick 6 today. I'm kind of with you where it means something. Like, yes, the two quarterbacks are not pinned up against each other. It's not like Joe Burrow and Shedeur Sanders are actually, facing each other. They're facing the opposing defenses on either side. But at some point, you do look around. It's like you made the argument. I think the 2 games where he clearly outplayed the other quarterback. I think you can also make arguments that, like, you look at the 49ers game, statistically was in the ballpark of Brock Purdy. You look at the Buffalo game, statistically was kind of in the ballpark of Josh Allen. Obviously interceptions being the separator, and even like last week against Aaron Rodgers, again, interceptions being the separator, but Shedeur played a really good first half and a pretty decent game overall. It's like, you turn around and look, it's like you keep stacking up, hey, with the talent that I have around me, I'm still putting up pretty solid games. Sure, I need to cut down on the interceptions, but I'm putting together good performances against quarterbacks that are well respected in this league. Like, I'm going out there and showing you I can kind of go toe-to-toe. Like, I need to make improvements. Of course, sure, there's nothing about this that is anywhere near perfect. But as I continue to play games that are, relatively keeping us in games, that are showing I can be competitive against defenses and showing you, hey, I can put up similar stat lines to a lot of these guys that we're facing with the defense I have behind me, like, you put better talent around you. You find the end zone a little bit more. You cut down on the interceptions. Obviously, I know that I'm saying a lot right now, but, like, this is very quickly the very simple math on how you get competitive in football games and start to win football games with an elite defense on the other side.
It really is that simple because the defense is good. I do think the big caveat there is taking care of the ball. Like, that's the big thing that he needs to work on for this game, but then also moving into 2026 is you've got to cut out the disastrous plays, because if you can't cut out the disastrous plays, you're essentially Jameis Winston light. And none of us want to see that for Shedeur Sanders. And none of us believe that that's who he is. At least I don't believe, I should say, that that's what he is. Like, I do think he has a talented arm, a more talented arm than he gets credit for. I think he's more mobile and athletic than he gets credit for. Definitely. And I think he is laser pinpoint sharp and accurate. So it's just trusting what he sees with his eyes. It's just reading the defense, scanning the field. And I do think some of that will come with time, with reps, with experience, all of that. But just cut back on those disastrous plays where you feel like you have to be the hero. We all get what you're working with, Shedeur. We do. It's a bad offensive line. It's a bad receiver group. Continue to make strides and steps in your personal growth. Cut out those disastrous plays. And we're talking about a much cleaner picture when we're looking at the evaluation of Shedeur Sanders. Because really, if you look at it, the interceptions is the one thing that it's like, man, 7 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Some of those weren't his fault. Some of those bounced off a receiver's hands. But you want that number to be much, much lower, especially if this is a guy that we want to give, another look in 2026.
I'm getting so fed up with the interceptions conversation on social media. I really am. Like, don't get me wrong. Shedeur has made some god-awful throws. Like last week, there is nobody going up there and defending Shedeur for the pick that he threw Jerry Jeudy's way, where he threw it all the way back across the field and left it like 8 yards short. It's a bad throw. And anybody saying anything different, if you can't admit that's a bad throw, I mean, I was going to say take the brown and orange colored glasses off, but I don't know what glasses you're taking off for Shedeur. Take off the wristwatch. I don't know. Whatever analogy you want to make there. But, like, open your eyes, right? Like, that is a god-awful throw. But then you look at the other interception, it's like, well, that's not on Shedeur. Cam Robinson got his lunch ate, like, immediately, and Shedeur got hit as he threw. Like, you can't even really ask your quarterback to get the ball out much faster than he did. Sure, if we're being nitpicky, he could have thrown it maybe a tick or two earlier, but, like, you got killed on what was going to be a pretty good timed throw. You mentioned the Jerry Jeudy interception where it hits him in the hands. It's like, okay, guys, yeah, there's plenty of bad interceptions to throw Shedeur's way. There's also some there on the numbers. Like, again, get your head out of the stat sheet, open your eyes and watch the game.
Yep.
Like, the interceptions are definitely a problem, but they're not as big as a problem as 7 to 10 is telling you.
Well, and that's the funny thing to me, because everybody will then point to Dylan Gabriel's stats, and they'll tell you, well, when Dylan Gabriel in a similar body of work with the similar bad offensive line, same bad receivers, only threw 2 interceptions, the 7 touchdowns. And again, Jake, it's like, put down the stat sheet, open up your eyes, and watch the game. Because if you just looked at the stats, sure, I'll agree. Stats will tell you Dylan Gabriel was the better of the 2 quarterbacks if you're strictly looking at touchdown to interception ratio. But when I've watched each and every one of these Browns games with my own 2 eyes, you will never hear me utter the words that Dylan Gabriel played the quarterback position better than Shedeur Sanders did. Did he take care of the football? Absolutely, Dylan Gabriel did. I can't take that away from him. But was it the most boring, vanilla thing that I've ever watched in my entire life? It was. They couldn't move the football. They couldn't score points. So, like, I can't sit here and disparage Shedeur Sanders for the interceptions, because at least he's trying to make something happen when the other guy was just meddling around in the middle.
Yeah, like, there's just nothing. Like, I don't even think that eye test is a question. Anybody who sits there and goes to the defense of Dylan Gabriel, it blows my mind. Like, guys, we all watch the same
People are
brand
out
of
there
football.
doing it, though.
I know. That's the part that is so crazy about this, is like, I'm sitting here watching Shedeur consistently play well, and it's like, whatever, well, fine.
Yeah, he's growing.
Yeah, he's getting better, and he makes his fair share of mistakes. He's far from a great quarterback right now, and we can very confidently say that in the way that he's played. But it's like, the argument between Dylan Gabriel, like, that argument should have ended weeks ago. Like, it's not even comparable. Dylan was consistently off the mark. Sure, he didn't turn the ball over, but you also, like, you weren't completing passes, and you weren't completing the easy passes in an offense that was tailored to you, that was largely built around just throwing the ball short. It's like, it's not just that, oh, well, you threw it 3 yards, it got completed, and he got tackled, and that's on the offensive play calling. It's like, you threw it 3 yards and you spiked it in the dirt. Like, you're still out there. Dylan Gabriel, like, he still completed sub 60% of his passes, and that was with everything coming within 10 yards, basically.
Right, and with Shedeur, you see some of that pinpoint laser-sharp accuracy. Like, I think back to some of those games that Dylan Gabriel started, namely the game against the Jets, dude.
Yep.
When he missed Malachi Corley on that screen, and Malachi Corley could not have caught that ball if he was Yao Ming. He would have had to jump like 3 Malachi Corleys in order to be able to catch a simple screen pass, and it wasn't just inaccurate, he was wildly inaccurate. And like, had they continued to put Dylan Gabriel out on the field, he would have played his way out of even being a rosterable NFL quarterback. Like, forget the franchise backup, forget that he could be Colt McCoy. Like, had they continued to give him starts, he would have been that bad. This would have gone that colossally south. So like, I do appreciate that Shedeur's at least been able to keep the car on the road for the most part. And sure, there have been a couple disastrous plays mixed in there. That's kind of his MO. You know, like, he holds onto the ball for a minute and he looks downfield and he tries to make something happen with it with his arm. Like, it was the same knock. You mentioned Joe Burrow, same knock Josh Allen had early on in his career, was try to play Superman too many times. If you could cut that out, I think we're on to something here, and I want to see more in 2026.
As do I. I mean, I'm looking to see Shedeur play in 2026. I'm hoping for it. We'll see how everything pans out and how today pans out. And speaking of, Nick, let's get to our predictions for today. What is your read on this? Obviously, we were both bordering on the 7.5. Is there any way you're seeing the Browns win today over the Bengals?
Listen, I don't think the Browns are going to win today. I really don't. But since it's the last pregame show, I will go against what my logic will tell me, and I will predict this game as a fan. And I'm going to predict that the Cleveland Browns could hopefully win this game. Give me a final score of like 27-24. A narrow win where Shedeur Sanders plays well, puts a lot of points on the board, and shows that he's a capable option for this team moving into the new year. That's my optimistic view on this. I don't know that the Browns will win this game.
I'll allow you to be the optimist because I'm in the same boat. I don't think that the Browns are going to win this game. I do think that Cincinnati is definitely a team that the Browns have played close. I won't rule it out. I will not be surprised if the Browns win today, but my gut tells me that this is going to be a Cincinnati win. This is a team that they're playing Joe Burrow in Week 18 for a reason. They're trying to pick up a win. They're trying to create a little bit of momentum and make up for the lost time that they had with Burrow's injury. I'll go 30-20 today. Cincinnati takes down Cleveland, but I'll be, very emphatic rooting the opposite way and hoping that the Browns show something and can escape this game with one more win and some good performances. And, of course, as I said, most importantly, a Miles sack. Let's get the sack record. Let's get that cleaned up today.
Make that happen, huh?
Let's just make sure that one's in the bag. But Nick and I are about out of time, so I do want to say, Nick, all season long, it's been a joy working with you.
A ton of fun, dude.
I've had a ton of fun doing these, despite our early wake-ups compared to, especially my normal schedule, but I'm sure a little bit on your schedule. It's been a fun time. A big thanks to today and for a good chunk of the season as well to Meredith Kane and everybody who's ran the board and done everything for us. And, of course, a big thanks to all of you guys along with us for the ride throughout this season, which is definitely been difficult and had its moments, but you guys have stuck it out, and we appreciate you a ton. Of course, this won't be the last goodbye for the season. Lance Reisland and Jonathan Peterlin going to take you guys up until kickoff of this game as well between the Browns and Bengals. And come on, again, it's Week 18. Let's root for a win. Let's see if we can get one over Cincinnati. Let's get a Myles Garrett sack record. Let's get another Shedeur game. Let's send Kevin Stefanski maybe out on a high note, even though he probably doesn't deserve it. That's okay. It's all right. We can still root for a little something because that guy probably doesn't have his job. But it's going to be Jonathan Peter and Lance Reisland taking over for us in 5 minutes for myself, Jake Volnick, Nick Padone. We hope you guys enjoy the game. I'm sure we'll talk to you soon. That's coming your way in 5 minutes right here on the Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show on 92.3 The Fan.
Cheese?
Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Meredith Kane.
You can now stream The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima live on the 92.3 The Fan YouTube channel every weekday from 6 till 10 a.m. Subscribe to the 92.3 The Fan YouTube page now for free. This is The Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan. Here are your hosts, Jonathan Peterlin and Coach Lance Reisland.
And welcome on in. We made it to Week 18, the final week of the football regular season. Coach, how are we doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you, my friend?
Good,
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. Larry David says we already need to stop that. I think I watched the episode yesterday. Elise was gone. She took Charlotte to like a princess party or something. So I was watching the very, very little one. And nothing that kid loves more than Curb Your Enthusiasm at 3 months old. And so I was like, let's put that on. Yeah, he says you're done at this. At this point, you're done.
When do you, if you haven't seen somebody, though, you say, isn't there a little bit of more of a window, you think? Or you
can I be honest? I'm not much of a Happy New Year's guy to begin with anyway.
Just like if I saw you on New Year's, you're not. Okay.
No, I don't really do it. Right. But like when you came in today, you said Happy New Year's. And you're probably the first person to tell me Happy New Year's outside of like, when the New Year's Eve actually happened. And, I was like, wow, it is a new year, isn't it? Happy 2026.
That's right. It's fast, right? It's already 26. It's crazy. Thinking that we're closer to 2050 than we are 2000. Think about that. That's what us old people do.
Did you stay up late or no?
We made it. We did.
Okay, good.
We made it, but not much after. We did Ohio State. We did Stranger Things. My daughter's at the age where we made it, but it's a struggle to get to midnight for me, for sure.
Yeah, we have somebody that works here on one of the cluster stations. He was telling me that he actually sets an alarm clock for like 11:45 to wake up, and then he'll like stay out for 15 minutes, and then he'll watch midnight and go to bed. And I was like, that's a level of dedication that I don't even have. Like if I get to a spot in life where I'm like a 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and I'm not because I love sports so much, and so I'm always staying up late. Like I think part of the reason why I'm one of these people that stays up till midnight, till 12:30, somewhere around there. But it used to be way worse when I was younger. And I hear people that are young in the business, like Jake, for instance, and some of these other guys are like, oh yeah, we just stay up till 2, 3 in the morning. And I'm like, I get it. You're a sports guy. You're a sports guy and you want to watch all the games. There's nothing better on a Friday, Saturday night than betting some West Coast games that don't get done until 1:30 in the morning. Like, that's fun for me. I like that. And so you kind of become that person that stays up later and later and later. But as you get older and older and older and kids wake you up earlier and earlier, something has to meet. Something has to end.
Well, yeah, you got to get your 8 hours or whatever it is. And you get the early wake up. And I know I wake up early during the week. So once I get to like 9:30 any night, I'm shutting it down. I'm done for the night.
Monday Night Football on Sunday Night Football tonight, 9:30. It is the Ravens and the Steelers. Your blouses, you're done.
I'm gonna try. No, I'll give it a game effort. Don't get me wrong. I'll give it a game.
I know,
effort.
but the game effort, if you're done at 9:30, means you're done before halftime's even happened.
But remember, for me though, I'm watching.
I know you watch the all 22, and you watch it. You watch it later on anyway.
So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Coach is he's just a different breed. Coach will go. He doesn't really care to watch the actual games themselves as they're going. He likes to just watch the all 22. The all 22 is the game for him.
Correct. Yeah. So that's kind of when in those situations, if we need to do that, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the 22, all 22 the next day. So, just once I get to a certain point, and then obviously as you get older, like I always wanted the big games to start at 8 o'clock when I was younger. Mm-hmm. Now I want those big games. I want Rose Bowl starts because then it means I get to watch the whole game, and then I crash.
Man, it's just such a different way of living. But if you've learned anything from me throughout this stretch, I hope you've learned the idea of like why we watch the full games and don't just rely on the all 22 or don't just speed through it in the condensed game is because when you do this job, you have to hear what the announcers are talking about because what the announcers are talking about in many ways is going to shape what you guys, the fans and the listeners are talking about because you'll see if they highlight Tyson Campbell, for instance, like they did last week, Romo goes on a 5-minute soliloquy about how great Tyson Campbell is and then all of a sudden what happens? Everyone from the next week is like Tyson Campbell, good at football. It's like, well, why? Because he spent 5 minutes talking about how great Campbell is and what a great trade that was and highlighting and the TV broadcast spotlighting the idea that Campbell is great at this and is awesome and we won this trade. And now in the past week, all I've heard is people talk about how great Campbell is.
Well, yeah, that's something I've had to get used to is kind of watching it for those kind of outside stories. I never have watched a football game for, I hate to say this, enjoyment. I like to watch it to break it down. So it's kind of nice looking at those games in a different way because you got to kind of get out of robot mode if you're talking to a bunch of people about the game. So yeah, I usually watch the all 22. Then I'll go back and watch the regular version, kind of speed through the commercials, but always listen to what they're saying for sure.
All right, let's get to our kickoff conditions. That's driven by our good friends over there at Classic Chevy of Mentor, Jeremy Hamilton and his award-winning team. Coach, what do I drive?
You drive a Chevy.
I drive a Chevy. I've always driven Chevys. Have since I was 18 years old. Continue to this day because they're the very best. American-made, the very best for a reason. All right, it is going to be in the 30s in Cincinnati today. And I guess it says 24 right now, but it's going to get a little bit warmer as the day progresses on. For kickoff, should be in the 30s, and it's going to be basically zero wind. Something we've been keeping an eye on, zero wind essentially for this game, which is something that I don't know that Chador's had just a regular game where it's just been cold and nothing else getting in the way. Since when? I feel like it's been forever. If you want to call Chicago cold, I would disagree with you. That was freezing weather. I don't know. It was a layer beyond cold, if there is such a thing, because when you get into negative temperatures, I don't look at that as your normal, hey, it's 30 degrees. This is 30 degrees, no wind, all things considered for January, pretty good day.
Oh, it's a great day to throw the football. And with, not only is this a great thing for Shador, but this is also really good for the Browns defense because with this weather being the way it is, there's going to be a lot of passing day. If Burrow's playing, they're going to get 5 out. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for Miles to get to the quarterback. So this weather today plays good for what the Browns, plays well for what the Browns need both offensively and defensively.
And that is our kickoff conditions driven by our good friends over there at Classic Chevy of Mentor. All right, Coach, yesterday, Browns reportedly leaning towards moving on from head coach Kevin Stefanski. That per Diana Rossini. That also for just cleaning up purposes. Jordan Schultz saying the league-wide expectations, the Browns are likely to make changes. 2-time NFL Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, believed to be on the hottest seat in the organization. Sources believe he's either getting let go or could be a trade candidate. We can talk about a million other people with their sources and what they talked about. Mary Kay Cabot, who's joining us at 12:20 later on today, saying very similar things to this. We'll get Mary Kay's response when she joins us, Daryl's response at 11:40 when he joins us. But, Coach, this feels like we were trending in this direction the entire time. It reads as of right now that Stefanski knows that he's gone and Andrew Berry is safe. That's the read that I have on this as of right now. Is there anything that can happen today that would change that outcome of it going down in that exact way that I just laid out?
Well, for me, no, I don't want Kevin to go. I've been Recker or everybody. Let me rephrase that. Everybody or nobody. As I say that. And that's kind of what it feels like. As a head coach, you sign up for that. All those issues that they're having, they're not all his issues, but he's been a part of it too. It's just like the offense, just like everything else. It always rolls back on the head coach. That's kind of the unfortunate part about this business. Now, for me, it depends. You think they're going to do it tonight or tomorrow?
I think, that varies. That I would imagine it'd be tomorrow. I would think Black Monday is when they'd get them. They've been speeding this up earlier and earlier, it feels like. I feel like if you've been here for 6 years, though, you get the courtesy of having to sit down tomorrow with them and then being informed of it. It wouldn't be after the game. You get to go home. You get to take get on the, I think they take a bus for Cincinnati. Sometimes it's a bus to Pittsburgh. Sometimes it's a short flight to Cincinnati. You get to travel back. So you're not like Lane Kiffin fired on the tarmac. You get to travel back, and then you regroup, and then they meet tomorrow before they then announce it to the media and everybody else. I would imagine, though, Coach, so Stefanski meets with Haslam, what we know. He meets with Haslam every Monday and Friday, okay? Every Monday and Friday, the two of them sit together, and apparently they do a powwow. They get together, they chat about it. I would imagine this recent Friday powwow is the one where Stefanski found out whether or not he's staying or going for next year. And that's why I would imagine all the reports since Friday has happened that come out and say he's not likely to stay. I would imagine it's come after that meeting, and I think there's a strong possibility that Stefanski already knows his fate today. And so there's another side of this where if he already knows his fate, you talked about it on Friday, maybe you wait till he gets home and then you could do it later on tonight. And there's also the idea that they want to do some sort of wrap up and do everything tomorrow as well. It's a little bit different. So the expectation on the timing of this is going to be very unique, and it'll be interesting to watch. But ultimately, it's not the big picture part of this. The big picture part of this is that it seems more likely than not the Browns are moving on from Kevin Stefanski while Andrew Berry remains safe.
Which I will absolutely don't agree with. And once again, I think it's everybody or nobody. It's hard to reset unless you get rid of all the pieces, in my opinion. And remember, if you reset, and here's the only thing I tell people is when you reset is that if everybody likes Jim Schwartz, and I've heard nothing but positive, it changes his role, whether he's a head coach or not. So if Stefanski goes, what you see in this Browns defense won't be the Browns defense next year, and that's kind of disappointing, but that comes along with change. So I would hope they had the decision. I hope nothing they do is knee-jerk reaction, because once again, you never make decisions in football after a win or loss. But I don't think today means more. I think today is more about like playing not for him, but just being a pro and getting out there and getting after it in good weather and go play and make some plays.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people on this team that obviously want to play hard for Stefanski, but I'd say there's even more that just want to play hard because it's the NFL and this is their dream and this is what they got to put good tape on for teams next season. If that's the Browns or another team, like there's a selfish component to the NFL that I think inherently exists.
Yeah, and everything that happens, I always kind of look back to the livelihood and the kids moving, and there's a real person behind Kevin Stefanski. It's easy to say, get rid of him, and obviously I think he's done a lot of really good things. Sometimes I will say this, though, sometimes your message doesn't get through, and I stand by this. Kevin Stefanski has not gotten dumb. However, the message that he's trying to get through has not gotten through to his players, his coaches, etc. So sometimes a different voice is needed.
Yeah, and I think it is in this case. Now, I'm with you in the idea that I would have fired both of them. I would have fired Stefanski and Barry, and I wouldn't have even debated it. I think I fired both of them, like 75 times on Afternoon Drive already. So like I've exhausted the amount of times I can fire two people. But I think with Haslam, I think in losing Deep Podesta, I think he needed the guy that sits at his right-hand side. I think he needed the guy that is right there, his confidant. I think this is the guy that I really do think Haslam likes to operate with the idea that he's got somebody that he can always bounce football ideas off of, somebody that he can always think it through with. I think that was Deep Podesta for so many years, and I think now it's just going to be, it got elevated to be Andrew Berry. I think the reason why Deep Podesta is in baseball right now is that Andrew Berry took over that role. And he saw, okay, I'm not as valuable to Haslam as I once was. That means Haslam's probably going to fire me. Let me go get a baseball job. I feel like that transition of power between the two of them happened. And if this has been a long-standing power battle, well, guess what? It looks like Andrew Berry, whether he watches Billions, whether he watches Succession, I don't know what show he watches, but he won the power battle. He got some moves from Axelrod and some of those guys, and he won the power battle here. And it seems like he's going to keep his job because of it.
Well, for me, that started with the Flacco, when the first kink in the armor of Kevin Stefanski at an interview when he said, basically, I had no idea that Flacco was being traded, and I would never have traded him.
When the thought partners broke is what you're saying?
Yeah, for me, that was the sign of, uh-oh. Alignment is being shifted, and when alignment gets shifted, everybody's looking out for number one, not to step in number two. So everybody starts throwing people under the bus, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but you do have to look out for yourself. And when you saw that separation, you knew it was either going to be Barry or Stefanski. That's what I've been thinking since that day, because it wasn't them in together on it. It didn't seem like they had any idea what was going on there. So that was bad obviously it's been bad for Kevin moving forward.
All right, 216-474-0092. We want your thoughts on this. It reads as of right now, Stefanski gone, Andrew Berry safe. If that is how it goes down, are you comfortable with that? Are you happy with that? Are you excited by that? 216-474-0092. It's Coach, it's Jonathan, it's with you guys right here on The Fan.
1H2025. Visit T-Mobile.com.
Hey everybody, it's Andy Baskin.
And Jeff Phelps.
We want to thank you, the 92.3 The Fan listeners,
for making us your number one station all year long.
We're wishing you all a happy holiday season and a fantastic new year ahead.
And don't forget to tune your radios to 92.3 The Fan every weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
And as always, you can listen live and on demand on the free Odyssey app. This is the Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan.
All right, back at it here on The Fan. It is Jonathan Peterlin, Coach Riz with you guys. We'll get to the game plan coming up in just a few moments. We're talking about the fate of Kevin Stefanski, though, and it's interesting. I mean, the Browns, when they fired Szczynski, it was right after the game. When they fired Freddie Kitchens, it was right after the game ended. They didn't give him that courtesy. I do wonder, though, Coach, if there's a little bit different mentality for someone like Kevin Stefanski. He's carried himself with class. He's been a good soldier through all this. I feel like when you fire a coach after the game, I feel like it's almost spitting in their face in a sense. I mean, you don't have to drag these things on, but also you don't want the guy to have to take the whole trip back home while he's a fired person. You know, like that seems like that's just cruel and unusual. And for someone like Freddie Kitchens, probably deserved it a little bit, right? Like it's fine. He was there for 1 year. As far as the head coaching duties was concerned, he kind of made a fool out of himself consistently. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be fine. For myself, I feel like Stefanski is going to get the meeting on Monday or maybe even the meeting later on today. I know they like to meet on Mondays and Fridays, and then it'll be done in a little bit of a different way. But we'll hear whispers as soon as the game is end, the way that we've heard whispers all weekend long that he's reportedly going to lose his job. It's been out there for 48 hours, or really since that Friday press conference. But, Coach, you seem to think, and I believe in this, that the decision's already been made.
Yeah, I think the decision's been made. I don't think these last couple games have had anything to do with it. I think for him, the idea of his team's playing hard, when people say he's going to get another job, there's some reasons that I agree with that. Obviously, winning is most important, but you know about the retread in the NFL. But for me, I think if he's fired, I wouldn't be shocked. Everything you're saying about tomorrow, but if it's also a little bit more mutual, then maybe he wants to get out too. Sometimes you just need a new voice. Sometimes maybe he wants to be a voice somewhere else.
And he might want to just hit the ground running and hit the pavement as soon as he possibly can as well.
So, there might be
like, part of it.
Like this game's over and you hearing that, we're going to move separate ways, both of us, it's mutual.
Yeah, I got to get contacting the Giants. Like, let's get this thing going.
So we got to get going. So he might, it might happen after a game just because it's, I think you're right. I think this has been discussed. I think he's been in his meetings and obviously allowing his teams to play hard, and he's saying all the right things. If that is for his next job, he's done a very good job of that. But yeah, I think it's going to happen after. If it does happen, I wouldn't be shocked if it's after the game because both parties are going separate ways.
Yeah, and why I think it happened on Friday is because of the way he talked about David Njoku in that press conference, and the way he was talking about some of the players is just ways he doesn't talk. So either he was preemptively getting ahead of it because he had an inkling that he was getting fired, or they already had the discussion and he is in fact going to be fired. But I would put it at like a 5 to 10% chance, and that seems even high, of the idea that we're all just wrong right now and all the reporting is just wrong around this, and something happens today and all of a sudden he keeps his job. It just doesn't seem very likely, Coach.
What's the percentage he keeps his job? If you had a percentage,
I said like 5 to 10%, maybe. Okay. Maybe. I would err on the lower side of that too, by the way. Like, I think he's basically cooked. So I don't see a way out for Stefanski at this point.
What's the 10%? You're saying 10%. What 10% keeps him in? Like, what is it? It's not today's performance.
Everyone just has the wrong read on it.
Okay.
Like the only thing on this, and again, this isn't like my sources or anything like that telling me that this is what's going to happen. These are the Jordan Schultz of the world, the Diana Rossinis of the world, all these guys. If they have been duped the entire time by this, and it'd be fascinating to find out if that's in fact what happens. But it makes logical sense for why he'd be fired. Hasn't won enough games. I got 27 million reasons why it's logical for him to be fired, okay? And then also the reporting that's come out in the waves that it's come out, mixed with the idea that his agent and people around him have been ultra aggressive in promoting him to other teams. Like, it seems like the writing's been on the wall for weeks, if not months already. And so, yeah, like this one feels like it's done. It's over. He's not going to be able to survive this. And the only way I'm wrong about this is that if the only way is if Haslam truly waited until the end of this game, they pull off something awesome, and then Haslam in Cincinnati has some sort of like aha moment. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. This is the guy that in fact will lead us through. and then he goes from there, Coach. But I just don't see that being reality, and I imagine you don't see that either.
Well, it's funny you say about the some of the conversations about Njoku, and the thing that stuck out to me and once again, it's every line of work, but when I resigned from football, you start to reminisce a little bit, and that's what I saw with the Njoku. Hey, he didn't think I liked him when he came in. That's reminiscing about the good stuff that's happened.
And
here.
Njoku was right about that, by the way. Didn't seem like you liked him very much in the beginning.
Yeah, and when you talk about that reminisce stuff, instead of talking about we got to get him healthy for next year, get him signed, that kind of tells you a little bit. For me, that was the reminiscence of like, there's been some things that have happened here, and I'm starting to remember these things because I'm moving on. So that's what I saw. That's what I got. That's the take I got with the Njoku comments was, it's been some good times, but now they're over.
I mean, it just feels like this is done, and that's fine. Now, the other side of this is what happens with Andrew Berry. We'll touch on that in just a little bit. 216-474-0092. Cool Ray up next on The Fan. What's up, Cool Ray?
Hey, Happy New Year first, fellas, and you and your family. Hope you have a blessed, New Year's, and hope y'all make this whole year good for you guys.
You too, Cool Ray. What's on your mind?
Oh, man, if Kevin is leaving, man, I'm throwing a party. We just going to party hardy. But my thing is this, though, for real, and I've been saying this. I just thought Kevin should have been fired for a lot of reasons, but over the last few weeks, and I'm a big Shedeur fan, and I got criticism of Shedeur also. I think he needs to throw the ball harder and faster to some of the out routes. But I watched this man let this young man come off the field after making mistakes, and he just walks right to that bench and sit down. I know the offensive coordinator is upstairs, but he should be talking to his coach about getting better. So Kevin hasn't done anything. Not here other than win the playoffs, and somebody gave him a 2-time Coach of the Year that I think he just rode the coattails on. But so what? Let it go. Let him go. But here's a good thing though. If Kevin does get fired and the team underperforms next year, the GM has to go. What I don't want to see is a coach come here and we start this. I want to have sole control of who or the 50-man roster. That's what I don't want to hear.
It might happen though, and so like Cool Ray, that's part of the idea, and I appreciate you, man, as always. But like Coach Riz, you know this, and we saw this in Jacksonville last year. What happened? They kept Balky around as they went ahead and hired Liam Cohen, the new head coach, and Balky was there in part of the hiring decision. And then 3 weeks later, as if it was seen out at Goodfellas, he just got told, "Okay, your job's gone now. We're bringing in Gladstone, a 34-year-old from the Rams, because Liam Cohen ultimately didn't want Balky still around." And so, this happens all the time in the NFL. And I'm not saying it's out of the equation for the Browns either. Andrew Berry might be a part of this coaching search and then might just be gone 3 weeks later. That is a reality that exists. Am I betting on that? No, but it's a reality that exists because we've seen it play out in the NFL before.
Well, and if you look at what the Browns are, and I always say this, it's numbers versus feel. And it's a lot from what the play calling to how they run their organization. It's numbers versus feel. So for me, I want the next, if they're going to move on for Kevin Stefanski, I want the next guy feel-based, right? Use the numbers as a resource, be feel-based. That might not match with what Andrew Berry and these guys want. So there could be, as where these guys were thought partners, well, if you're going to go with the same, then why would you get rid of Stefanski if you're going with the same type of person? So I don't think the next coach, if he's different from what they've had, they will not jive. Him and Berry will not work well together because the next guy should want all the control. If I'm a football coach, I want control of who I'm playing.
And they all do when they come in here, by the way. The only ones that don't are guys like Stefanski when he came here because he had no leveraging power. He was a one-year offensive coordinator. He was happy to have the interviews to be a head coach. You don't get to bargain that way. But if you've accomplished anything, like if you're a Mike McCarthy who had 3 12-win seasons in Dallas and then got shipped out the door, but he's won a Super Bowl and has been successful everywhere he's been in the NFL, if you're someone like that, you want some of the power. You want some of the say. Especially, I'm thinking about McCarthy in particular, based off of what happened in Dallas with Jerry Jones, where he was, and this is part of the reason why I think Mike McCarthy might be able to work here, by the way, is that if you can put up with Jerry Jones, you can put up with Jimmy Haslam. It's an important part of this discussion, but you're gonna want to have a little bit more say than what you had in the previous route. But if you're anything of substance, you're gonna want to have some say. That's how this all works. It's why years ago they weren't able to land Josh McDaniels in that Kevin Stefanski hiring cycle because McDaniels came in and asked for the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the Browns were like, Oh yeah, we don't do that around here. We don't give you that much power. Coach, let's get to the game plan. And we'll get back to your calls in a second. 216-474-0092. The game plan is brought to you by Romeo'sPizza.com, the official 92.3 The Fan tailgate show choice for pizza, wings, and more. Romeo'sPizza.com. All right, Coach. It's kind of a good game, all things considered, because you have a great offense in Joe Burrow and the Bengals against a great defense with the Browns. There's good parts to this game. What is the game plan?
Well, for me, there's two things. We'll start with defense. Obviously, Joe Burrow being on the field, that's a good thing for the Browns. That means they're going to get 5 out. And what I mean by that is Chase Brown, who ran for 100 yards last week against Arizona, he's a very good back. But they like to get him out in pass protection, get him out and not have him in pass protection, So they like to get 5 out, which means they don't like to chip. That's why Miles has had a ton of success. Taylor's a guy likes to give. So there's two ways to look at it. You can beat the blitz or you can block it. Taylor is a beat the blitz guy, which is good for Miles. So him playing is very, very important. Now for the Browns, what they got to do is they have to win on first down. You heard me say that all year. And when they do that, that defense is extra special. Because if you get it to second, third, and long, now you can turn it loose. Taylor's going to get 5 out. Now you can create a 5 or 7 step drop. Can't get rid of the ball as quickly because there's more yards to gain. So that's important winning first down. Now on defense, BJ Hill's good inside. Slayton's good inside. But this defense can be had, and this is a defense for Shedeur. He's got to work that 10 to 25-yard range, those chunk throws. Not having Fannin, I think they really got to work those high lows in the middle of the field with Judy, Isaiah Bond, those backup tight ends, Bates and Whiteheart. They'll do a nice job underneath. So he's got to work those receivers in that chunk area. And once again, you got to have special teams not be a factor. You don't have to win them, but you can't lose them. Make them a wash. The best unit on this field, I believe, is the Browns defense. If they come out and play hard, you're going to know really early on what the Bengals are trying to do. If they're trying to win, they're going to throw it all over the field. If they're trying to get out of here and get the warm weather, you'll know early. But I think the Browns, if they play it true, the Browns have the best unit, and I expect the Browns have a very good day on defense. So, I think they got to, both sides of the ball, they got to win on first down, but they got to make sure that they get Joe Burrow in passing situations so they can turn those guys loose.
And that is our game plan, brought to you by Romeo'sPizza.com, the official 92.3 The Fan tailgate show choice for pizza, wings, and more. That's Romeo'sPizza.com. 216-474-0092. We'll continue with the convo on Stefanski. Also, what does it mean for Andrew Berry? Does he have a chance to actually stay? We'll get to who's hot, who's not as well. It's Coach Riz, it's Jonathan Peterlin, and the Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show with you guys right here on The Fan.
teams actively searching for a new head coach are the Giants and the Titans. Want to catch highlights from the Fan throughout the day? Get over to 923thefan.com or favorite the Fan on the Odyssey app for all of today's headline segments. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 923 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Meredith Kane.
This is The Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan.
All right, back out of here on The Fan. It is Jonathan Peterlin and Coach Riz with you guys. We are live on YouTube right now. Different for us. Usually on our Week 18 or really any of the week of the seasons, we're not live for the whole entire thing. We have the live stream right now. I just checked in with the stream for a second, by the way, Coach. They're dropping those corn emojis. Drop those corn emojis. Get it. I love it. We have all sorts of fun that we have all throughout the week with those guys, and so it's fun to bring it to a Sunday as we talk a lot about what the Browns are doing, a lot about what the expectations are, Coach, and we'll go back to your calls in a second, but when it comes to Stefanski, I think we can all see where this is going. It's like the elephant graveyard where they just circle around the dead elephants. It feels like that's happening right now for him. But the fate of Andrew Berry is what's interesting as well, because there is a chance out there that they go Jacksonville's route and it ends up being a surprise factor 3 weeks from now, and all of a sudden the new head coach wants something different, and so we're off to a GM search as well. But I look at him, and he's just found a way to maneuver himself into basically Haslam's inner circle. And I feel like when you got that is as good of a job security as you can find. I mean, that is in a life being buddy with the CEO and understanding that, like, hey, I got it made in the shade based off of that. I don't see anything happening to Andrew Berry.
Do you think that draft last year saved him? Is that
I don't
the
think
only thing?
I don't think it's the draft. That's the sad part about this.
If they had a horrible draft, he would still be in the same situation, you think?
I don't know.
Because then what does he have besides that? I mean, what's the argument?
No. We can't go based off of the idea that he's got anything credible to go off of. This is why I would have fired him 12 million times, okay? I'm on the record a million times over. He's fired, Stefanski's fired. I can only fire them so often. But I have to find a way to figure out what exactly they're doing, right? And so if I can't use logic for the idea that Barry still exists because of what? Well, first off, I'm not that impressed with anything he's done in his time here. So what do I have to go off of? What I have to go off of, the most logical thing is that the only person's opinion that matters, Jimmy Haslam, he has infiltrated that guy's brain into thinking that he's awesome at this. The same way Paul DePodesta ended up with the job for 10 years, Coach. DePodesta sucked at this. DePodesta didn't know what he was doing, and he got a job for 10 years. Why? Because he got into Haslam's brain that he was the smartest guy on the block. He got into Haslam's brain that he knew what he was doing. He like a worm, he infiltrated his brain, and then all of a sudden, Haslam didn't understand what was going on, and you fast forward and it's been 10 years. And so I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that he's just buddy with Haslam. Haslam trusts him to the high heavens at this point, and that's what they're going off of. I have no football reasons for saving Andrew Berry's job. Absolutely zero at this point.
Well, it's got to be, the thing is, you look at this, and for me, it's everybody has their hand in it. It kind of goes back to the play on the field. Everybody has, when things go right, things go wrong, they all have their hand in it. But when you look at this offensive chart, this offensive roster, this offensive depth chart at certain positions, it's really, really poor. The offensive receivers and the offensive line are really, really poor and expensive. And
that's a bad combo.
That's that's a tough combo. And I don't know how, that's why as a head coach, if I'm going to get fired, I would like to go down with my guys, right? So a lot of those guys, were they Stefanski's guys or were they Barry's guys? Whoever, once again, we'll never know the whole story on that. But that's, for me, that's the issue with this, is that the things that are on the field, the people that are on the field, are not as talented as the teams they're playing. You see with the Browns defense. Mm-hmm. They are in every game because they have elite talent at all three levels. The offense does not. And, whether you want to evaluate Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel or Flacco, there's no offensive line, there's a minimal run game, and there's not a lot of good receivers. It's really, really hard to do, and that's on the people, that's on Andrew Berry and his staff on who they brought in.
For sure, and it's on Andrew Berry, the idea that he drafted 3 straight third-round wide receivers, and they all didn't work out. It's on Andrew Berry, the fact that we have the oldest offensive line in the sport, and they all get injured every single week, and you didn't time this thing out right, and now you're going to have a decimated offensive line next year and trying to piece it all together. It's on Andrew Berry that we have nothing offensively on this team and haven't for years. This all falls at the feet of him. But you got to look beyond football reasons for why he's going to end up unscathed out of this whole thing. Because just like in life, it might not be fair, but you watch all sorts of people get promotions that you're better than. This is how this works sometimes. Being buddy with people, kissing people, being a bootlicker works in life for a lot of people, okay? So it's a downfall of myself, Coach. I'm not a good enough bootlicker. I don't do it well enough, okay? But like, there's enough people out there that make that what they do. And Andrew Berry, I mean, I'm sure you've had one-on-one convos with Andrew Berry. He's very intelligent. He's very smart. He's very well put together. He has a great presence to himself. Like, there's a lot to like about Andrew Berry. Not to the point where I can see how Haslam's gotten duped into 6 years of watching bad football every week in order to have him keep his job, but enough to the point where you're like, all right, I don't want to give up on this guy too early. And so I personally do. I'm ready to give up on this guy, but Haslam clearly isn't. Unless we're going to have something 3 weeks from now, like what happened in Jacksonville, where all of a sudden Balky gets the rug pulled out from underneath him when he thinks he's here long term, I don't see it changing. And so right now, the read on this is pretty simple. Stefanski's gone, Barry's here, and we're going to have to trudge through. And the people that want him all or nothing, you're not going to get your wish, Coach. It's not going to happen that way, not as far as I see it right now.
Well, and I get a bunch of messages right now. Well, we need to, as long as we keep Schwartz. Well, that was what I said earlier this week on the radio is, here's the thing, is the one thing that's going well for the Browns is the defense, right?
Yeah,
Everybody agrees with that. So that's also going to change, and there's a really good chance that defense gets worse. So the loss of Stefanski.
Well, all right, let's go through that. What are the odds that you have somebody, I don't know, let's just say a Mike McCarthy type or somebody, an offensive side of the ball guy, right? Joe Brady, let's just throw someone like that out there. What are the odds someone like that comes in and then says, you know what? Okay, Schwartz, we love it. Stay here, do this, versus the idea that either Stefanski could poach him for his own defense if he gets hired somewhere else, or he might just get mad that he didn't get a real run at being the head coach of this team.
Well, and those are all possible. But, and if you bring in a guy, if that's his choice, if that's McCarthy's choice, great. Chances are these guys are all the same. Like, even at, high school, college, pro, we all have our guys. We all have our guys. Right now, if I coach again, I know who I want to be my defensive coordinator. Yeah. Right? That's how it works. And it doesn't mean that Schwartz is bad. It just means you have your own guys within your philosophy. So, once again, if you go look at guys like Devin Bush and Tyson Campbell and a lot of these guys who have played, Malik Collins, a lot of these guys have had career years because of the scheme they're in. They'll be successful in any scheme, but the scheme has maximized their skill set. That goes away too. So with all the stuff that people want to get rid of Stefanski, understand that Schwartz is going too, and that's a problem. Because even if Schwartz is the head coach,
so you're convinced then if Stefanski's gone, Schwartz is gone too?
I absolutely. And if he's not, and even, let's put it this way, let's say that he's hired as a head coach, he's still not calling the defense like he is now. Because when you're a head coach, you have all those CEO responsibilities. So it still won't be the same. For me, if I'm a coach, I want Jim Schwartz coaching my defense. He's been awesome doing that with this roster. This defensive roster is made for his defense, not for a base 4-3.
Well, and so that's why, like, if I was a coach coming into this situation, I think you'd almost be stupid. I know you want your own guys, but you'd almost be stupid to look at this Browns defense and want to touch it and change it in any sort of way.
Well, but I will tell you this: coaches are stubborn, and coaches have their people, and it's just like anybody else.
For sure.
When you're in there for 9-10 hours for years and years, you get your trust, and even though Jim Schwartz is really good, that's your guy, and that guy understands you and how you work and your practice plans and how you organize and how you prepare. It doesn't matter how successful he is. If he's not the head coach, I would be shocked if Schwartz is here if Stefanski gets fired.
All right, 216-474-0092. Strong stuff. I like that, Coach. Larry and Elyria up next. What's up, Larry?
Hey, Jonathan, Coach. God, I listened to Coach make that remark about Schwartz leaving. Oh, my God. That'd be a nightmare, you guys. I mean, you're absolutely right. It could happen. The only thing I'm thinking right now is possibly if somebody keeps somebody in the house. And I hate to say that, but if you got Reese or Tommy Reese, the offensive coordinator, all of a sudden he'd be the head coach, there's no way he'd be able to call the plays on top of that. On he'll have on his table. Is that correct? You got to look over the whole team not being experienced. That's not good. And to me right now, you guys, both parties, they stay or they're going. That's how I see it. I really do. One thing about Stefanski, his record, though, in the AFC North, it's kind of important. He's 7-2, which is a pretty good record in this type of division. And, it don't look good, guys. The guy I would like, if they had to go with another coach, not a retread, is Clinton Kubiak. That's what I like to have.
People like Clinton Kubiak, yeah.
I want him at the beginning of the year. I thought Coach Stefanski was going to hire him because he worked with his father back in Minnesota. But what about Kubiak, too? Also, he can scheme people open, too. But you got to have talent. I understand that. But if I do go in direction, definitely be a Coach Kubiak.
All right. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. All right, good stuff. I noticed no Happy New Year there from Larry. I thought we were going to get a run of Happy New Years, and I'd have to, after opening the show with I don't really do Happy New Year at this point. Yeah, I thought that's what was going to happen. Cool Ray, that was very intentional. That was like a 30-second Happy New Year.
Yeah, he did.
He really, really settled in on that being his thing, and I was like, oh no. You can't make the comment I make and then just be like, oh, Happy New Year, guys.
He came in swinging for sure.
Happy New Year, but then you get people on the phone, and I'm not going to be a jerk to people like that. All right, 216-474-0092. Kubiak gets named a lot. What do you think about his chances of landing this job?
Well, I think it was, here's the thing. Regardless of who you hire, you're only going to get on offense what you have, right? So scheme-wise, what scheme are they going to run with the roster they have? And I understand motion, and I understand Kubiak is he's I'm his dad, kind of, that's how old I am. But the Kubiaks are a great football name, but they're a wide zone. They're very similar to what Stefanski runs. And if you bring somebody new in and they have a new scheme, so if you think about McVay's scheme or you think about Mike McDaniel's scheme, space and timing and all those kind of things, it doesn't matter if you don't have any good thing to throw to. You're not going to create space. You're not going to create separation. You're not going to have protection. It starts on the inside. The Browns have to fix their offensive line, and then they have to get some skill players. And then you can start evaluating not only the quarterback, but the scheme and the coordinator. I'm not sure what coordinator is going to be super successful. I will tell you this. When I was really good, I had really good players. That's the reality of coaching.
Yeah.
When you're better with better players. Coaches, we're all a dime a dozen. You gotta have people. You gotta have some substance in the guys that are out there.
Joe in Eastlake up next. What's up, Joe?
Hey, guys. Great show today. I got a take on you guys. I want to hear your opinion on it. Mm-hmm. You guys, said maybe a mutual agreement of sorts. What do you say about something like a Sean Payton, somebody trades for Stefanski? Say they got something in the works. Say a team like the Giants really want him, and they're willing to offer a draft pick for him and to get him to keep him off the market. I'll hang up and listen to your take on that.
Okay, thanks, Joe. I appreciate you. I mean, that was one of the reports yesterday. I can't remember if it was Jordan, Schultz, or Diana. It was one of them suggesting that the Browns would stay open to the idea of a trade. And it's like, okay, so maybe does he not get fired right after the game because of that? They're hoping that the Giants call up and offer some sort of pick or some sort of compensation for him. I guess it's on the table. I would imagine most people around the NFL, though, have come to the agreement and the idea that you're not going to have to trade for someone that they're going to fire anyway.
Well, and here's the thing about Sean Payton and guys of that level. That does not seem, if you're keeping Andrew Berry, that does not fit the kind of the dynamic of what they've created. I'm in charge of this because that's what the numbers tell me. You're in charge of this.
I don't think he was suggesting trading for Sean Payton. I think he was talking about...
No, those in general, like those kind of guys. So
that's not happening.
Whoever you're trading for, whatever you're doing, I don't see any of that happening. Once again, like you're saying, if he's going to be fired. But they want a guy who, and I don't want to say this as a negative term, but kind of like a yes guy. They want a guy who's going to come in and say, you need to do this. And the guy goes, yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Which is what Stefanski was.
So, and there's guys who are successful like that if they're thinking the same. Doesn't seem to be the case. So if you want things to change, you need to bring it, for me, you need to bring in a football guy who does not care about what you say about numbers.
But that's not a yes guy, though.
Correct.
You see how that clashes right there?
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter all this talk about who's coming in. It doesn't matter to me because you're deciding if you're keeping your general manager, that means you're keeping kind of the structure, which means you're bringing in a guy who's going to be very similar to Kevin Stefanski.
It's interesting. All right, 216-474-0092. We'll keep this going. We got to get into Myles Garrett, whether today can be the day. Will Joe Burrow do what Josh Allen did and really what Aaron Rodgers did last week in Pittsburgh, where they played keep away and trying to avoid the sack record? We got to get to who's hot, who's not. Your phone calls as well. Again, 216-474-0092. It's Jonathan Pino and Coach Riz with you guys in the Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show right here on The Fan.
registrations for a matinee contest. Tip-off from Rocket Arena is at 2 o'clock. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Meredith Kane.
When it's your time in the car, focus on what matters to you. The Ken Carmen Show with Anthony Lima. Weekday mornings starting at 6 a.m. 92.3 The Fan. This is The Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Brian doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan. Here are your hosts, Jonathan Peterlin and Coach Lance Reisland.
Hour number 2 underway as we await Week 18, the final game for the Browns. They take on the Bengals. So we'll get into this one a little bit more with Myles Garrett, also Shedeur Sanders in about 20 minutes. Daryl Ryder joins us in 40, Mary Kay Cabot at 12:20. But as we always start off these hours, let's get to the kickoff conditions driven by our good friends over there at Classic Chevy of Mentor, Jeremy Hamilton and his award-winning team. They'll take care of you in the very best way imaginable. Coach, it's like 35 degrees for kickoff in Cincinnati. It is going to be low winds. It is going to be a very easy, nice football weather day, all things considered. No threat of snow, no threat of rain. It's supposed to be nice in Cincinnati.
Well, and once again, as I've said all year, the wind, not having wind allows these quarterbacks to play. And obviously with Burrow playing and Taylor being being a guy that likes to throw the ball and get 5 out, this is a really good game for not only the offense but the defense. The weather should have no issues today. That's good.
And that is our kickoff conditions driven by, again, Jeremy Hamilton and his award-winning team over there, Classic Chevy of Mentor. All right, who's hot, who's not? Brought to you by the Heart of Ohio and Plumbing Source for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Heart of Ohio and Plumbing Source are now teamed up. Get a $96 precision furnace tune-up today. Coach, take us through who's hot and then go through who's not.
Well, we're going to go through the who's hot is this rookie class thinking about this year, right? So you got Shedeur Sanders, you got Junkins, Dylan Sampson has made some plays. Obviously, Mason Graham, Harold Fannon's leading the team in receptions. Isaiah Bond is up there. He's doing really well. Defensively, Schlesinger, Graham, these guys, this entire rookie class has been outstanding since day one. Now they have to kind of build on that, get another great class. But I've been very impressed, not only their ability to get better each week, but their professionalism, their attention to detail. Really, really outstanding rookie class.
It's been interesting to kind of grade them because it feels like in the beginning parts it was like a knockout of the park home run, and then it feels like you had some moments where Mason Graham didn't look as good, but now he's come back to life, and now all of a sudden he's shown some life. Judkins has had moments where he looks phenomenal, and also moments where it's like, well, he's getting a lot of yards after contact. This offensive line stinks. I can't really blame what's happening right now. Schlesinger has had basically way more ups than downs, but even early on, you're like, is he over pursuing? Is he doing too much? And now all of a sudden he looks like he's going to be the defensive rookie of the year. Fannin makes catches everywhere, but he's been injured the past couple weeks. Like, it's been an interesting up and down. But for a group that we never label one way or another a rookie class in their first year, it's funny how many people are like emphatically, oh yeah, they've nailed this one. This one's good.
Well, and I would say, try to live in the moment. It's kind of like one of those things I always tell people, if I had to do one thing differently in coaching, it would be enjoy the wins when you get them, right? Because they're not. So it's the same thing with this rookie class. They have a long way to go, but I always try to not take away from what they've done. And they have a long way to go to say this is the best rookie class ever, but they're off to a really good start if they build from here. I thought they've done really nice things all season.
Well, I mean, again, like I'm getting emails. We get calls from a Thomas and Shaker goes at me all the time about this being the best Browns draft class since 1999, and I'm like, well, wait a second. Like Nick Chubb, Baker Mayfield, Denzel Ward does exist. Like, and we got to pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah. But the idea that we can have that conversation and the season wasn't even done, that's a nice feather in the cap of Andrew Berry and everybody involved there. Is it enough for Andrew Berry to keep his job? Seems like it might be. For myself, it wouldn't be. But again, that's the thing we're going to debate all day long and all the way into the next couple weeks, I would imagine. That is who's hot. Give me who's not.
Well, the who's not has been this offense. So we talk about the season coming to an end here. This offense has struggled all year, and I know it's come. Everything rolls down on Kevin Stefanski as a head coach, and that's what we sign up for. Coaches, coordinators, and quarterbacks know that. But this offensive line, this receiving core, the injuries, schematics, whatever you want to say, the relying on numbers, things like that. So this offense and this special teams have been really who's not all year. And those are the things that need to be addressed in the offseason, especially more than anything else. That offensive line has to be addressed with money, and we know the importance of, you saw it in the Ohio State game. As talented as Ohio State is, if you don't block up front, you have no chance. So this offense and the special teams has been who's not all year.
And that is Who's Hot, Who's Not, brought to you by the Heart of Ohio and Plumbing Source for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Heart of Ohio and Plumbing Source are now teamed up. Get a $96 precision furnace tune-up today. All right, I want to talk about Myles Garrett, and obviously we'll get to the idea of him chasing the sack record. I did think, though, on Friday, I thought that he had some pretty alarming words, all things considered, talking about the team. He said on his 6 years with Stefanski, unfortunately, more downs than ups. It felt like he himself was writing Stefanski's career obituary in many ways, or at least Brown's obituary. I just thought it was interesting because the sack record, I feel like, has been a great distraction for Myles Garrett. Usually we get Myles Garrett and he's just constantly complaining for the final 2 months of the season about how, and rightfully so, about how he's doing his best and he's awesome, but the offense isn't picking up the slack or the team's not scoring enough to be able to win enough. And he's never wrong in his assessment. But he's got the bedside manner of basically me, who doesn't have any bedside manner at all, okay? There's no easy...
The lack of couth is what you're saying.
No, not that. Not that. Couth is different.
All right.
Couth is... If you're uncouth, there's something different to that.
All right.
But the lack of a bedside manner is the idea that basically you're very blunt with people, you're very upfront with people, and you couldn't deliver good news in a positive way if you tried, okay? And that's Myles. Myles could be saying nice things, and oftentimes it'll be like, is that an insult? Is that what that was? And I fall guilty of this myself too. Sometimes the way I talk, the hard things hit incredibly hard, okay? When it seems like I'm trying to be mean, it hits really, really hard. And when it seems I'm trying to be nice, sometimes it doesn't hit as me being very nice. Sometimes it comes out right in the middle, you know what I mean? And so with Myles, I feel like he's got that as well. I feel like Myles, in many ways, when he complains and he argues and he discusses his life and all these type of things, feel like a lot of the times, the final month and a half of the season is him just airing out his grievances. Instead of going to a therapist, he just goes to the media on Fridays, okay? And we'd avoided that. With the sack record, I really felt like we'd avoided that. Now, maybe it was a combination, Coach, of the sack record and the money. Maybe the two things collectively had kind of just made him be quiet about the bad situation around him, but something had made himself quiet about it all. And then on Friday, I thought he unloaded.
Well, and here's the thing about Myles is that, it's like when he signed that contract and everybody wanted Myles to be this captain that he's not. And what I mean by that is that there's different types of leadership, there's different types of people. And if you're expecting Myles to do something that he's not going to do, and if he does, it's going to be very phony and people will see through it. For me, this is Myles. Myles' ability to be a captain is that Myles plays really hard each week, and Myles plays the run. People thought he wasn't playing the run. I haven't seen that.
He's great against the run.
Yeah. He's been playing really great. But that's what Myles is. Myles is a great football player. So everything, as a coach, I don't think none of that matters to me, because what I'm looking for Myles to be for me is a great player. I'm not looking for him to be my vocal leader. That's not what he does. And if I make him do those things, it's going to come across as phony. So the things he says, all that, as long as it doesn't bother him, because he's one of those few outliers, right? He's one of those few guys that he's just better. And if he's not being a distraction, you take those things he says with a grain of salt, whatever it is, because he's producing. So for me, Myles is exactly who he is. He's a great football player. He's not a super vocal leader. He's not a guy that is going to be a rah-rah guy. He's just the best football player on the field, and that's okay.
Why I bring it up, though, is I want to know if you think this is going to carry into the offseason. Are we going to have the same Super Bowl Radio Row week where Myles goes out and tells everyone he wants to be on a champion, he wants to play for titles, he wants to do this and that, and he's not doing that here? In part of the sack record that was a distraction, we got away from even having those type of conversations. And I wonder this offseason if we're going to get right back to the spot where we were, and I think we will, but right spot to do that whole entire area where you're just talking about, will Myles Garrett be traded? Does Myles want to force his way out? Is Myles going to get what he wants out of this whole entire deal? Is he going to end up on a Buffalo Bills? Is he going to end up on a Eagles or a Lions or one of those type teams?
Well, and that's going to come down to who they bring in. If they're getting rid of Kevin Stefanski, that's where it starts, right? Who's this guy they're bringing in, and now what's the process? Because everybody wants. Here's the thing: when you bring in somebody new, it doesn't kind of start where it ends, right? So the defense being good, the offense struggled. This is a total rebuild, right? So this will be, is Myles part of your future, or do they want to get rid of Myles because we're going in a different direction, and then you have 3 more years of fertility? Or do they say, I think we're close, we need to get this quarterback or this receiver or this offensive lineman. That kind of depends on who they bring in. And once again, do they bring in a football guy? Because the numbers will probably tell you we're starting over. He's in year 9. Whatever, all those numbers, the guardrails. The stuff that I don't particularly believe in, but I think that's what's going to end up happening with Miles is if they get rid of Kevin, what's the new coach want and what direction are they going?
216-474-0092. Jeffrey in Cleveland up next. What's up, Jeffrey?
Okay, so listen to this. So if Miles gets the sack record today, okay, we got something to celebrate. Even if we lose the game, we still have something to celebrate. Okay? Kev, I don't know, man. It seems like those guys just ruined his reputation. Every time he makes a first down, the other team makes 3 first downs. Every time he make a touchdown, the other team run the ball back 90 yards. The coordinator, the defensive DC, and the special team guys, them guys should be gone, man. They should be gone because they ruined Kev's reputation of being coach of the year twice. They just ruined his reputation, and the Haslam never had an exit interview with Kev yet. They never brought him in during that losing streak to say, hey, man, you got to clean it up. So I think Kev's going to
What do you mean? What do you mean they never had an exit? Okay, all right, thank you. They did have they met every Monday and Friday. Like they meet twice a week. They go over everything. Like I don't know what this lack of an exit interview is. And also, was he just preemptively firing Jim Schwartz there? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Did he blame Jim Schwartz for his problems? That wasn't Jim Schwartz's problem. Now you want to blame Bubba Ventrone? Line up. We can go ahead and have a discussion about that, but that was a little misguided on that phone call there, Coach.
Well, and here's the thing with Kevin Stefanski, and he'll say this to you. Regardless of all the things that people said, I'm a Kevin Stefanski fan, and I'd like to see him stay. But he's not winning enough games.
I'm not a fan.
So, and that's okay, because what happens is if you don't win games, this is what happens. Everybody has
there's a scoreboard in this business. It exists.
You got it. And that's so whether this is not process based. This is why I warn people in terms of getting rid of him for the right reasons. If you simply say he's not winning enough games, you want to go a different direction, that makes sense to me. But it will not be we're going to get a new guy and everything's going to be fixed.
No, and so that's an important clarification, and I'm glad you make it. The idea that if you're an anti-Stefanski guy, you'll have your day when we get this new head coach in there and he stinks. Okay, but guys, the Terry Francona people told me the same exact thing. We're gonna have our day. All of a sudden, it's gonna be the worst thing ever. We're gonna regret the day that Terry ever was able to win. Terry Francona was great. I love Terry Francona. But you know what's happened with Stephen Vogt? First off, he won Coach of the Year, but he also made us. It took us into the playoffs, and we win near 90 games every year. It's been fine. You can exist with another head coach, but even if this new manager, this new coach, now I'm mixing up baseball and football terms here, but even if this new coach comes in and stinks up the joint, it won't change the idea that I still think it was time. I still think you had to make the move. You had to decide. You had to figure out a different direction. So if the new guy you get is probably not Sean McVay 2.0. He's probably not Kevin O'Connell, because there's only a handful of those guys, and they're likely not to have just been plucked out by Jimmy Haslam and found. But you got to at least give it a chance. You got to give it a run, because right now, running back the same Kevin Stefanski storyline that we've seen the past 2 years ends with us talking in Week 18 about something that isn't the football game that's happening later on today.
Well, and that's the bottom line. And if you don't win, you're out. And once again, coaches get hired to get fired, and this is what happens. He didn't get dumb. His message isn't getting through. Player, all that other stuff is involved. But as a head coach, your job is to win football games. And you hear me say it all the time with you. I'm not worried about development. That'll all happen during the season. You should be worried about the Bengals and winning football games. And if you're not doing that, then you have to find another job. And that's what it comes down to.
216-474-0092. We'll get into what Miles has to do in this game. We'll get to Shedeur Sanders as well. Daryl Ryder joining us at 11:40. The injury report at 11:30. Your phone calls next as well. It's Coach Riz. It's Jonathan Peterlin. And the Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show right here on The Fan.
This is The Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan.
All right, back in here on The Fan. We are 7 minutes away from an injury report, and I'm curious to find out who's in, who's out. We already know there is no Njoku today. There's no Fannin today. There is no Carson Schlesinger today. So we'll keep you posted on that. We are 20 minutes away from Daryl Ryder. Mary Kay Cabot joining us at 12:20 as well. All right, we never got to this side of the Myles Garrett discussion, though, Coach, because we've done it every single week. And last week, by the way, in All Pro or Hell No, you asked half of a sack, All Pro or Hell No, and the first 45 seconds of my answer was them playing keep away with Aaron Rodgers, and I thought that was basically inevitable, and then it turned out that was the case. I don't think, by the way, that Joe Burrow has that same mentality. I just don't. And Joe Burrow was asked about it, and that doesn't mean that I'm going to take it as truth and gospel, but he was asked about it and insinuated he does not care about trying to basically just limit anything that Myles Garrett would do. He's not going to think about that. And he said sometimes the best of a bad play is, in fact, a sack. So he's very on board with the idea of taking sacks, which is also a good thing. But I don't know if he's going to get it or not today. I really truthfully don't. But I think he's got a chance to blow it out of the water in many ways. There's a 3-4 sack game that is here and exists. It's just whether or not Myles will do it.
Well, I will say this. The scheme, so Pittsburgh likes to go a lot of 12, 13 personnel. They like to run. They like a lot of boot waggle, especially with Aaron Rodgers. Make it as easy as possible. That's not what the Bengals are. The Bengals are a pocket team. So when you think about launch points, the Steelers, what they did, more than try to get rid of the ball, they constantly changed the launch point, getting away from Myles, throwing quickly, things like that. Joe Burrow is where he's going to be. He's going to be 3, 5, 7-step drops, either underneath or in the gun. You know you have a bullseye on your launch point. That's what makes, and he likes to get 5 out. So Taylor likes to get 5 out. So the scheme itself is very conducive to getting sacks. And what he's saying is that I'm still going to beat the blitz. That's what we do. We beat the blitz. We don't block it, and that's very much a Taylor thing where they're going to try to use hots and create matchups. But there will be opportunities, especially if they win on first down, to get those sacks.
What's going to happen if it's like the second half and we don't see Myles Garrett with any sacks yet? Is there any sort of what can you do on a defensive side of the ball to help get Myles this last sack, or is it not really something that is even possible?
I don't think it's possible. I mean, the only thing you can do, you can move them inside. If they're getting rid of the ball quickly, you can try to create some A and B gap pressure. You can try to do some overloads where you get him off the line of scrimmage and you try to make him the free runner.
So is that what happens in the second half? We're going to see him. You know how one of his greatest hits is him lining up against Joe Burrow over center, and he's doing the basketball motion where he's going like that, and then he goes in and just basically just jumps over the center and gets the sack. Are we going to start seeing stuff like that? Is that the Hail Mary attempt? Him just lining up everywhere?
I don't see that with Jim Schwartz. I will say that Jim Schwartz is going to move him inside, possibly because Dylan Fairchild's rookie, even though he's very good, and Jalen Rivers is in for Cordell Volston. Those guards aren't super laterally, so I can see him, especially since Malik Collins has been out, I can see him moving inside. I don't see Coach Schwartz as much of we're trying to get a guy a sack. If it's within our system, we're going to get that sack, but really, moving him inside today is not a bad deal just because those guards don't move very well laterally, and that might be your best matchup.
Okay. A couple interesting things I want to talk about as we continue to discuss about Myles Garrett and everything. And by the way, I didn't understand how much of a team award they were looking at this as. It just never crossed my mind. It's kind of like when you have a perfect game and, the catcher and the guy playing center field, they all take some claim in it. But on SportsCenter, Philip Umber still gets his name across the board. One of the White Sox pitchers that threw a perfect game. No one remembers him for anything but throwing a perfect game, which is rightfully so. It's a great game. But guys like that, where you talk about the individual accomplishments, but I never realized just how much until hearing guys all this week talk about how important it was and how they're going to look at this as it's their accomplishment just as much as it's Myles' accomplishment. I thought that was interesting.
Well, it is. And so here's what you can do. So if you're a defensive tackle, what you tell yourself, or the linebackers who are in for Schlesinger and these guys, is you're saying, if you want Myles Garrett to get this record, then we got to stop the run on first down. That's what you can do to help Myles. You can say, you can't do much about the scheme or anything like that, but what you can do is you can say, we're going to get the Bengals into second and third and long. We know Joe Burrow likes to beat the blitz. If it's second and 8+, that means he has to take a 5-step drop. That means he's going to hold it longer than 2.8. These are all things that behind Miles doing well. So if you want all this entire defense, and it is a defensive award, if they want to help Miles today, stop the run on first down so they're in passing situations and he can get after it.
Something to note here, by the way, away from the Browns game, we await the injury report coming out in just a couple minutes, by the way. Adam Schefter today on ESPN saying the situation between the Ravens and head coach John Harbaugh is, quote, up in the air, and there should be more conversation about his future than Mike Tomlin's in Pittsburgh. There are conversations to be had, more football to be played. He currently leans more safe than out, but it's one to monitor closely. We obviously have a big Sunday night game tonight between the Ravens and the Steelers. It's something to keep your eye on. And really, I mean, everyone's going to be watching that game. You're the winner of the AFC North based off of this game and this game alone, but it does feel like carnage is going to happen. There's another report, and Tony Pauline, who's been covering football for a million years, he's not an Adam Schefter, far from it. He made the suggestion earlier today that Mike Tomlin would just sit on the sidelines and go to TV. There's two options that could play out. He'd either go to TV next year, or he'd ask the Steelers for part of an ownership stake in order to stay. So, like, the fallout of this game, whichever side loses, could be pretty immense here tonight, Coach.
Well, and for me, it looks at different levels of where systems are at, where organizations are at, right? They're talking about two guys who have been highly successful, Super Bowl kind of thing, playoff, whatever it may be, non-losing records, still being fired. They're fighting for, so you could be fired today. If you win, you're the AFC North champs. If you lose, you're fired.
Well, but even if you win, you still might end up being out, all things considered. Because whoever ends up winning this, listen, the Ravens can still turn things around. Lamar gets healthy, and all of a sudden they're a wild card in the playoffs. But more likely than not, the Steelers, if they win, they limped into the AFC North, which they always do, and then, or at least limped into the postseason, which they always do. They've actually only won the AFC North once in the previous 7 years. Fun fact for you guys. But they would end up a double-digit underdog in that playoff game, more likely than not, the same way they are every single year. Every year, it's wash, rinse, repeat with this team. They crumble down the stretch. People think they're good for like 5 weeks. Then they crumble down the stretch. They end up being a double-digit underdog in a playoff game, and then they just get the doors blown off of them every single year.
Well, and the thing is, you got to figure out what is your ultimate goal. And sometimes when you take a step back, you can take more steps forward. The Steelers are very set in how they draft, who they got on offense, their scheme, how they do things, their toughness, their odd front. There's a certain way they do things, very similar to the Ravens. So maybe there's not the ceiling, but there's not a very low floor for them either. They're always kind of going to be in that 500 or better because they're very consistent in what they do and the carryover year to year. And that's something. Once again, Browns start over. It's a whole new scheme, which usually takes time to kind of learn. So I'm with you. But I think the level of expectation, you have to be careful because sometimes winning, people think winning's easy, and it's not. And I think the Steelers and the Ravens should be very happy for what they have. And make some adjustments in their personnel.
I figured out my rooting interest. I want the Ravens to win, not only because I want to win the burger bet I have with Nick. I have the Ravens winning the AFC North. He has the Steelers winning the AFC North. But also, I don't think there's a chance in hell that Mike Tomlin would take the Browns job. I don't think that's on the table. I do think him going to TV for a year and then waiting for basically the greatest job ever to open up, whichever one that comes with the quarterback that opens up. Maybe that's like a Josh Allen in Buffalo type situation. You'd wait for that and then get that job. Where I do think it's possible that Harbaugh would come to the Browns. I don't think that's crazy to think that Harbaugh would be interested in the Browns job.
Well, for me, though, I don't. And here's why. Because it goes back to the way they think. And Harbaugh is a feel coach. He's a go for it on fourth down.
No, but you upset everything in your previous thought processes and everything you have in order to get a John Harbaugh. Like, I think Haslam is as...
Will they do that?
I think he would. I think Haslam, as staunch as he is in a belief of Andrew Berry, if we talk about that like Jacksonville situation coming to life...
So you think Berry would be the... Okay.
Yeah, I think he would upset everything in order to get John Harbaugh.
Even though you think Barry's in the circle now, you think Harbaugh.
I think you upset your circle. There's certain guys you upset your circle for, and you turn your circle upside down for. I think Harbaugh is one of those guys. I don't think any of those guys exist outside of this market right now, though. Okay. Or like within this market right now.
So you're saying if the bus is rolling, Barry's on the bus, but if Harbaugh comes up, Barry goes under the bus.
I think Barry can be kicked off the bus.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know about thrown under the bus, but Barry can be kicked off the bus.
Okay.
He can be told to hitchhike. Find a different way home. This can happen really quickly. It does in the NFL, but I think Harbaugh is one of those guys. I think if anybody, I think Harbaugh would be one of those guys because I feel like Haslam, the way everyone does, just has a lot of respect for what Harbaugh can do. All right, the injury report brought to you by Metro Health, the Rehab Institute at Metro Health. We keep Cleveland moving. I mean, one more thought. Like, you just got to be an idiot to let Andrew Berry get in the way of hiring John Harbaugh. Let's be honest. What kind of idiot would that be?
I mean, if you
sound it out for yourself, Coach.
But if you're saying we're numbers based, and I just don't. I mean, all of a sudden, I thought he was on the bus. He was secured. Seatbelt was on, but now
seatbelt's not on. Like how school buses.
Harbaugh takes the seatbelt off. Get off the bus.
This is a school bus. There's no seatbelts on it. Okay, everyone's rocking up and down as is. You got a chance of flying out the window at any stretch of this ride. All right, inactives for today: Harold Fannin Jr. inactive, Jeremiah Byers inactive, center Kingsley Agakin inactive, Jamari Thrash, David Njoku, Sam Kamara, all inactive for this one. Isn't Schlesinger supposed to be inactive? I'm going to have to look some things up here because the Browns report themselves is not necessarily going with what they had said previously throughout the week, as they had made the claim that Schlesinger was not playing in this game, but he has not popped up on this report. So we will do some research on that. We'll dive into this one because he's not there. Browns don't have him listed, although they did say earlier in the week that he was going to be out. Injury report brought to you by the Rehab Institute at Metro Health. We keep Cleveland moving. What stands out to you there, Coach?
Well, it's guys, guys like Zach Zinner, guys. I'm thinking of guys we talked about all year. Are these guys the backup tight ends, Blake, Whitehart and Bates? How are they going to get involved? Because they still like 12 personnel, and these injuries with the offensive linemen, and how are they going to help the offensive linemen? And once again, just kind of what are the Browns? What's the goal today? Are they trying to win? Or are they trying to get out of here? And you're going to know real early. That's kind of my thought.
I think we're going to know really early as well. I love the idea that it's like strength versus strength, though, and Joe Burrow versus the Browns defense, and then also weakness versus weakness, and the Browns offense then versus the Bengals defense. And so that part of the game is interesting. On one side of it is like a world-class, all-everything type matchup, and on the other side of it is not as much, but we'll still have fireworks because we'll have Shador playing, which is obviously great. And this is the type of game, we'll get to this a little bit later on, this is the type of game that I really feel like Shador can have a nice game and can thrive, but he's got a real chance to put together a complete game here. Like these are your opportunities. You got to take advantage of it. We'll dive a little bit deeper into why the Browns don't have Carson Schlesinger on the inactive list right now. They had ruled him out earlier last week, and he has not popped up on this inactive list. So we'll get to the bottom of that. Daryl Ryder, our Browns insider, will join us with the latest on that, the latest on Shador, the latest on Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry as well. It all happens next right here on The Fan.
Download the Odyssey app now and listen from anywhere. BetMGM tonight, live and interactive, presented by BetMGM. Tune in, Team Huevos.
If Black Monday moves affect the Browns, you'll get it here first. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. This is The Fan, Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan.
All right, back at it here on The Fan. 1 point of clarification. Schlesinger placed on the IR yesterday, and so that's why there's no designation for the inactive list. You don't have to put him on the inactive list if you are placed on the IR. One of those weird end-of-season things that wouldn't pop up in Week 13 or Week 11 because it would have been very obvious, but now it's one of those things that play in the hands for Week 18, Coach.
Yeah, just, it's getting more bodies since, there's a lot, look at that injury report. There's a lot of key guys out today. It's interesting to see how they're going to respond, especially defensively. Schlesinger's been so good.
He's been good. And so obviously you have no Schlesinger today, no Fannin today, no Njoku today. A lot of guys are out. For more on this, for more on the game, and obviously more on whether or not this is Kevin Stefanski's last game as a head coach of the Cleveland Browns, we go out to our Browns insider. His name is Daryl Ryder. He is brought to you by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. Daryl, how are we doing today?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good. Do you think this will be Kevin Stefanski's last game as head coach of the Cleveland Browns?
Yes.
Do you think this will be Andrew Berry's last game as GM or president of football operations or whatever title you would want to give him as the Cleveland Browns?
No, I think he's safe.
Okay.
All right, Daryl, let me ask you a question. Going off that, do you think they'd be willing, if Kevin is not here, are they going to bring in more of, per se, a football guy, or are they going to bring in a guy who is more is in tune with what they want in terms of analytics and numbers?
I think they need to bring in somebody that's not a yes man. I think that they need to give that coach autonomy over who plays, when they play, how much they play. This collaborative nonsense doesn't work when it comes to that aspect of things. And this way you can legitimately hold the coach accountable for the success or the failure of the team. So, but I think that with Berry staying, should they make a coaching change, I think that they will be looking for somebody who fits into their mold, if you will, has similar beliefs when it comes to using data and things like that Kevin Stefanski had.
Coach, you have a follow-up there?
Yeah, I just don't understand. Why would they go with that if that's the case? Is it because they know if they bring in a coach who has a little bit of will stand on his ground on what he wants? Is that something they're afraid of? Or do you think if a Harbaugh was available, they would change that for a big-time guy?
Because it's just the way this organization operates. The people that sign the checks want to say, plain and simple. They always do. They always have. And hey, it's their investment, and it's hard to argue with that, right? I mean, if you're at that level, that you're going to have a say. But I don't think that they have learned yet that it doesn't work. Okay, nothing they do has worked. And that's something that they got to look themselves in the mirror and realize that the way they do things does not work. It does not produce results consistently. And I just think that they are they believe that there are shortcuts and they can outsmart everybody, and they haven't learned the lesson of there are no shortcuts and you outsmart nobody.
So you think that, honestly, and it's weird, but do you think these guys actually think there's nothing wrong in how they do it is the correct way to do it? Or do they think that there's got to be a change? You got to bring in a coach who, like you said, I'm with you in terms of a guy who is going to have final say in roster and things like that. Or do they think what they're doing is working? Like, if you had to feel, do they think what they do is better than what everybody else does?
Well, obviously, if they're just going to get rid of Kevin, then they believe that they know better. So, they tell you what they think by what they do, not by what they say. because if they do move on from Kevin, it'll be, thanks for the 6 years and 2-time coach of the year, 2 playoff appearances. They'll praise him as they kick him out the door. But I think that the questions that will need to be answered are how much more winning was Stefanski supposed to be doing with the roster, especially on the offensive side, and the deficiencies there they gave him. Why does the GM, who has missed on pretty much every third-round pick he's ever made, and the reason why that's relevant is because, for several years, third-round pick was the first pick they had in the draft. Why does he keep his job after failing to adequately address the offensive line, after failing to adequately address the wide receiver room? He addressed it, but he didn't do a good job with it. And that's the issue, both in the draft as well as through other acquisition means. I mean, they're just this whole offense. You might just blow it to smithereens. It's just that it needs to be rebuilt from the ground up. Even once you do that, it doesn't really matter unless you have a quarterback. And that's what this all, comes back to. Kevin Stefanski has had to play 13 different starting quarterbacks. He has not been able to develop anything of any type of consistency. Those that say, well, you're supposed to mold your offense to the players you're given. Well, it's tough to mold an offense when your quarterback's changing every 4 weeks. He's had to deal with that. And 4 of the 6 years, he's had to start no less than 3 quarterbacks. 1 year took 4 quarterbacks. Another year took 5 quarterbacks just to get through the schedule. So I don't know what their level of expectation to win was. And if it's, he should have won a game or 2 more, then their processes are just completely out of whack and flawed. If they let Kevin go and they keep Andrew Berry, ownership's going to have some explaining to do.
Chud and Freddie Kitchens were both fired immediately after their games ended in Week 18. Do you feel like Stefanski is going to have that treatment done to him, or will they have a meeting tomorrow and then we're going to have a Black Monday firing if it does happen?
Yeah, I think that it won't happen until later tonight or tomorrow morning. We're past the usual point where. Because we've had some instances, and you're right, Jonathan, we've had instances where the decision has been leaked, before kickoff. I think that they do respect Kevin, and I do feel like they're going to try and do this as tactfully as possible. And I know that sounds ridiculous to say, right? When you fire someone or you move on for someone, you're doing it, tactfully. But I do feel like they're going to try and handle this situation as respectfully as possible, and so they're going to try and keep that news as bottled up as possible, or as long as possible, so I don't anticipate anything official coming down until later tonight and tomorrow morning. If anything, just to give the appearance that, hey, we thought about it, right? Because I think they have been thinking about it. Clearly, with some of the reporting that's come out about them doing, preliminary head coach searching, the stuff about Stefanski's going to be a viable candidate. Should he be let go? Right? I mean, all that news is 3-4 weeks old, and so I think that's why probably. So if I was a betting man, I would bet on late tonight. Or tomorrow morning when we officially get the word that they are moving on from Kevin Stefanski.
For the game itself, what is more interesting to you? Myles Garrett chasing down the sack record, or a Shedeur Sanders opportunity against a really bad Bengals defense to light him up today?
Myles getting the sack record because that's historic. Shedeur Sanders isn't going to make history today. At least I don't think so. And his future obviously becomes muddied now too, if there is a coaching change, because now you're taking the current head coach out of the equation in the evaluation process, right? And everything he has seen. And keep in mind, Stefanski's been working with Shedeur behind the scenes as well. So that now comes out, and now you've got a helicopter view of whatever head coach you're going to bring in. that's going to, somebody who wasn't even in the building is going to have an evaluation of Shedeur, right? Mm-hmm. So that I think muddies his future here. So that's why I think Miles getting that sack, which I think he's going to have multiple sacks today. I don't think it's going to be in doubt. I think he's going to have multiple sacks today. He's got 11 sacks in 9 games played against Joe Burrow. Making NFL history, supersedes whatever, I think Shedeur potentially could do today. The bigger storyline is Miles in that sack record.
Definitely is. I just wanted to have a different way of asking you, will he break the sack record? Because I feel like that's the lamest thing that everyone always asks, and they've been asking it now for a month. All right, Daryl.
Yeah, we have. It's this is we're like a week 3 or 4 on Sack Watch. Right? Well,
it's been every week, and it's been, and it's so, and that is another underlying part of this. And Daryl, I don't know if you buy into it or not, but the idea that he got 10 sacks in a 3-week span, I do wonder if that will ultimately come to rise as maybe like I don't know if people will discount it or not. I don't think they will, but
you can't discount that. That's just that's just crazy.
I think so as well, but I also know how the national media works, and they come up with some really hot takes sometimes, and so
they'll discount. Here's what they'll do, Jonathan. If he only gets 1 sack today, they'll discount it. But if he gets multiple, he gets 2 or 3 or, I don't know, heaven forbid, 4, right? I mean, if he really blows by the sack record, then I don't think it'll be discounted. But if he just gets the 1 sack,
then it'll be like, and they'll do it on the basis
everywhere.
They'll do it on the basis of 17 games instead of 16, and that's going to be part of it. And so maybe the short amount of time that he gathered so many of these sacks won't even come to be highlighted. But it is interesting to think about.
100%. And like you said, we know how the national media works.
Yeah, they're predictable. All right, thank you, Daryl. I appreciate you.
You bet, guys. Enjoy the game, and good luck with Sack Watch now 2026.
Actually, Coach and I are coming back next week to do it again.
Absolutely.
Okay,
that's
fantastic.
What it is. Yeah,
okay.
we'll be here with bells on, just being like, did Miles get it yet? Are we playing more games? Does it carry you into the XFL? I don't know, Daryl. I don't know. All these questions. All right, thank you, Daryl.
You bet, guys.
All right, Daryl Ryder brought to you by Scheibin Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. We won't be back next week. I don't know. No, I think actually we'll be Nick and Daryl in this time slot right now next week.
Okay.
Like I think they're back. Their 10-2 show should be back in full form, I would imagine. And so like 11:55 next week. You want to tune in? Daryl and Nick can be talking all about Sack Watch and everything else in between. Coach, you will be at a volleyball match, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting close.
I will be taking care of my kids. All right, 216-474-0092. We coming back. What type of game will Shedeur have? It has been 2 hours. We have had 0 Shedeur Sanders discussions. What are you expecting? It is a bad Bengals defense. It is a real opportunity, and ultimately, does it matter? Is Shedeur now trying to put on tape for a new head coach, potentially? 216-474-0092. It's Jonathan Pino, and it's Coach Riz with you guys right here on The Fan.
all year long. And we're wishing you all a happy holiday season.
And a fantastic new year ahead from all of us here at The Fan.
And don't forget to tune your radios to 92.3 The Fan.
Every weekday from 6 to 10 a.m. And as always, you can listen live and on demand on the free Odyssey app. This is The Fan, Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan. Here are your hosts, Jonathan Peterlin and Coach Lance Reisland.
Final hour of the final game of the regular season for the Browns, and what a long season it has been. A fun season, though. Honestly, we could have had a lot worse than what this season turned out to be. Obviously, the win-loss record isn't there. We want to have a lot more wins than what we had, Coach. But as far as the roller coaster, as far as the ups and the downs and everything in between, I'm not going to say this season was good. Let's not rewrite that. This season sucked in a lot of ways. It was not great, and there was a lot of bad football that we had to watch. But it does feel like in recent weeks it's at least been more enjoyable than what we typically see at the end of the season. End of seasons like this, at least. Like last year, Browns closed out the year losing 7 out of their final 8, and we just went into a tailspin and never recovered. Maybe it's the game last week on my mind, the win against Pittsburgh, but it feels like this season didn't end in such a dud. I don't know. It's not great, but it wasn't as big of a dud as it has been.
Well, no, you're getting some excitement from your quarterback play.
For sure.
You're getting rookies that you can kind of you can see things in the future. And once again, I believe in personnel. And when you have the defensive line and the linebackers and the secondary and people coming back from injury, I think there's a lot of that ties into as well. It's like, what could this team believe? This is not a cupboard is completely empty. This is they got to get quarterback play, consistent quarterback play. They got to get receivers. They got to retool the offensive line. But there's a lot of pieces that kind of give you hope moving forward if they can just close the gap and find a quarterback and get some skill guys. This could be a turnaround quicker than people think.
It's going to be interesting, and a couple things to look at in this game is obviously Shedeur versus Al Golden and his defense that for the first 10 weeks of the season, Coach, not very good. They've been better as of late. Still not a very good defense overall, but let's get into that in just a second. Let's get to the kickoff conditions, driven by our good friends over there at Classic Chevy of Menor, Jeremy Hamilton and his award-winning team. They'll take care of you in the very best way. Coach, what do I drive?
JB, you drive a Chevy.
I have forever. I've been driving a Chevy since I was 18 years old. Always will. American made. That was one of my dad's requirements. It's got to be American made. It's the only thing you can look at is American made cars. And so because of that, I chose Chevy, the Impala, right out of the rip at 18 years old, and I've never looked back. They'll take care of you. They're obviously fantastic people over there and fantastic vehicles. It is going to be in the 30s. There's going to be basically no wind, Coach. It's supposed to be a good day as far as quarterback is concerned in order to throw in these conditions.
Well, it's a great day. And you want that for everything involved today. You want Joe Burrow to play, right? If he's playing, they're not going to hold him back. You wouldn't think, which means they're going to throw the ball. You only throw the ball if the weather permits it. It's going to be non-wind, no rain, no snow. They should be able to. Both teams should be very, very balanced in what they do, which means if the Browns can win on first down, Miles should be able to get that sack record, and it should be a very good evaluation day for Shedeur, even if it's check down Charlie, which I know you're not a big fan of. As long as he goes through what he's supposed to go through and throwing it to the people who are open based on what he sees coverage-wise, it should be a really good day for the Browns in general. Weather really helps the Browns today.
All right, and that is our kickoff conditions driven by our good friends over there at Classic Chevy of Menor. All right, Coach, I want to ask you about this defense for the Bengals. They've been much better in recent weeks than what they were for the first 10 weeks of the season. They had 2 rookie linebackers that looked like 2 rookie linebackers that are both playing much better football as of late. They were absolutely disastrous. One of the worst defenses the NFL's seen through the first 10 weeks of the season. Al Golden and company, though, they got this thing figured out in a much better way than what they had been initially. Still doesn't mean they're good. We talk about strength versus strength, weakness versus weakness. This is a real chance for Shedeur Sanders to have an opportunity to have a good game today, Coach.
Well, here's the thing about Al Golden. So my notes tell me he's a multiple front guy, which he was at Notre Dame. He's a pressure is a mindset, not just blitzing. So he's going to try to, what I mean by that is he's going to do some simulated pressures where he's going to bring 4, but it's going to be 3 to one side or 3 over 2 or 4 on one side over 3. So he's going to show you pressure but doesn't mean they're going to bring 6 all the time. He's a guy that likes to give another guy who's very big on pre-snap look, change it to the post snap look. So a very big day for Shedeur seeing that. Mm-hmm. He wants the same with the Browns. He wants to stop the run early so you get in long yardage situations. and he's a matchup guy, very similar to Schwartz. So the Browns are going to have to protect those tackles because he's going to feel whoever their best pass rusher is, who I think is Shamar Stewart probably in terms of one-on-ones, they're going to have to make sure they help because he's a guy who likes to find matchups with that offensive line, and there are some holes in the Browns' offensive line.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see what Shedeur does. Ultimately, what I want from him today is to have a complete game. I think that would be the best thing. Maybe have a game where we just don't have one or two of those interceptions where you're like, Shedeur, what was that? What happened? We have too many head-scratching moments, and it doesn't mean he won't get this cleaned up. He's dealing with a lot of bad offensive line play, a lot of bad wide receivers, no Harold Fannin, no Njoku today, so no tight ends to work with today. Like, he's really got his back up against the wall in this, but what I'd love to see is him just have a game where he just doesn't have that oopsie turnover, that big time hits off the defender's helmet or something stupid happens, or even just throws it up to Jerry Jeudy and tries to make a play when nothing's there. That's what I want to see out of Shedeur today. Don't turn into a check down Charlie. That's not what I'm saying. But, take your shots, take your deep shots, but I'd love a complete game from Shedeur.
Well, take the deep shots when they're there, right? So don't force it. Take them when they're there. But
the Bengals, they'll be there.
Yeah, they will, because Golden is going to find some matchups. He'll play some man, especially on third medium type looks. But for me, you got to limit the disastrous plays, right? So if you only get 10 to 12 possessions a game in the NFL, the ball is life. So you got to make sure you protect the football. There's got to be non-disastrous plays. Now, like going the ball off the helmet and stuff, those things happen. It's the one that should have been picked by Herbig on the sidelines. It's the one that was picked when he threw up to Jeudy. Those things he's got to eliminate. The one off the helmet, those things happen. If you make a good read and the defender makes a great play, those things happen. It's the idea of don't play hero when it's not there. Throw it away and live to play another day, because you're doing so many other things well. Don't make those disastrous plays. Make those less disastrous. Throw the ball away, live to fight another day, check it down when it's there, and then take your shots when they're available.
216-474 to below 92. Todd in Ward 1 up next. What's up, Todd?
Man, I did not know you had another child. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You serious on those free labor landscaping, ain't you?
Hey, we're 2 and done over here, Todd. That's it. It's over. It's done.
Unless you move into a house with a bigger yard, you're going to make another one. I know you.
I got a big enough yard. We're good. I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
All right, Lance.
Todd, don't you have like 5 kids?
I do. No, I don't have 5 kids. I have 5 children.
That's right. Okay. I remembered. Yeah, you have 5 kids, which sounds insane to me. The 2's like more than enough trouble for myself.
I got 1, and it's me and my wife split everything. Good for you, Todd.
I don't know how you did it, Todd.
Hey, man. Moving on. So I want to see the expiring contracts play today. I really do. They look like evenly matched teams, and I do believe that the team with the best receivers is going to win today, so we know who that is. But who would you like to see of the expiring contracts that have not been much of an impact this year, but need to do something to make their resume look good? Play today.
So that's what's weird is that, like, obviously the big ones that stand out, like a Teller and a Njoku, both aren't playing today. So, like, out of the expiring contracts, we got a lot of guys that aren't playing. A guy like Tevin Jenkins, though, Coach, that's an expiring contract. If he has a good day today, if he is out there, it's important that he plays well.
Well, I'll give you guys, is Diabate an expiring contract? I don't know where he's at now that I feel
like he's on a lifetime expiring contract.
Yeah, so for me, that's, he has all the tools. He's just not played at a high level. He's going to get a ton of run today. I'm watching. He's one of the guys on my list. He's a guy who's got to play. He's got to tackle better in the hole and do things better. He's overrunning stuff. It's not a lack of effort from Diabate. He's just got to be better tackling, especially in space. So that's a guy I'm watching.
All right, Todd. Appreciate you, man.
All right, y'all. Talk to y'all later.
All right, be good. Yeah, there's a couple players like that you just always you focus in on, and you're like they have a real chance to kind of make their inroads, and this is their opportunity to go out and grab it. Week 18 matters for a lot of these players out there on the field today. I know we talk about it as if it's like a meaningless game. I don't look at it by the way meaningless at all. I think there's a bunch for the Browns to play for, but I also look at it as it's just an exciting game from the idea that Joe Burrow against Myles Garrett in this defense is popcorn. That's theater. That's great. That's awesome. And I don't think people are looking at that. They see the records of these two teams and the lack of a playoff appearances between these two teams that it's going to happen this year. And I think they look at this game as if it's going to stink. And I'm telling you, Joe Burrow versus Myles Garrett and Joe Burrow versus this defense is as good of a product as the NFL has to offer. And Joe Burrow might be fireworks today. He might end up being great. That might be one of the storylines we have to discuss, Coach, is can the Browns offense keep up with how fast Joe Burrow is able to score? But against this defense, no one's been able to really go crazy. You had Josh Allen in the Bills game, first 3 drives, they scored 3 touchdowns, and it felt like they were going off and going to go off all day long. And then what happened for the remaining, 2.5 quarters? Josh Allen got put in his toy box and all of a sudden couldn't do anything. And all of a sudden, Cook turned into just a guy instead of the running back that looked like Walter Payton meets Jim Brown. So, there's chances in this game for Joe Burrow to strike, but the idea that it's going to be what happened last week against Arizona, I just don't see that. Maybe Joe Burrow puts up 35 in the first half again, but that seems like it's just not going to be the case. Not with this going on. All right, 216-474-0092. We're going to have Mary Kay Cabot joining us coming up in about, 10 minutes or so at 12:20. We do have a clip from Jay Glazer on Fox, and this was him speaking moments ago in regards to Kevin Stefanski and his job status. This is, again, Jay Glazer, courtesy of Fox.
League rules, you can't interview anybody except on Zoom, nobody in person, until January 19th, unless you're unemployed. Kevin Stefanski, Browns coach, will be unemployed very soon here, and as a result, he'll go to the top of a lot of these lists because you can interview him in person.
Okay, so Jay Glazer's calling it. I feel like I'm doing political theater now. Jay Glazer, the representative from Vegas? I don't know where Jay Glazer's from, California, somewhere around there? Anyway, he's calling it for Stefanski. He's saying he's going to be fired today.
Well, obviously there's too many, rumors are rumors, but there's just too much of he's moving on and the things he said. And for me, once again, I go back to the, when he made the, the comment of, Njoku didn't like me. That was the reminiscing part that sticks with me. So I think the thing that I'm going to say, I think this is much more, as we've talked today, I think this is much more mutual than people think.
All right, Jay Glazer's calling it, saying Stefanski is going to be fired today. Diana Rossini has been calling it, saying Stefanski is going to be fired at some point. Jordan Schultz is calling it and saying that Kevin Stefanski is going to be fired as well. Will Mary Kay Cabot say that Kevin Stefanski is going to be relieved of his duties? We'll talk to the Browns insider from Cleveland.com as she joins us from Cincinnati. It happens next. It's Jonathan Peterlin. Coach Riz with you guys right here on The Fan.
now and listen to Westwood One Sports from anywhere. It's You Better You Bet with me, Nick Costos, live and interactive Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern, presented by BetMGM.
Whenever you need to talk about the Browns, we got you covered. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. This is The Fan Bud Light Tailgate Show.
Powered by the Valley Automotive Group and Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Smiley One and Bryant doing whatever it takes.
We are the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan.
All right, back at it here on The Fan. It is Jonathan Beadle and Coach Riz with you guys. Let's go out to the Fan Hotline. Cleveland.com's Mary Kay Cabot joining us here on The Fan. Hello, Mary Kay. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
We're good. We are bracing ourselves. We are getting ready for, as you are, a very, very busy day today, not only with a little football game actually being played, but obviously the news around Stefanski and the fate of his status with the team. How do you feel like today plays out?
Well, I think in a perfect world, they would like to get back to Berea and have the conversation with Kevin Stefanski tomorrow morning in Berea and decide what they want to do. But, we have all seen how this goes, where things kind of take on a life of their own after the football game. And sometimes, things don't make it all the way till Monday. So I think the writers here, we're all bracing ourselves for something to possibly happen tonight. But like I said, I think in a perfect world, they would like to wait until tomorrow to have this exit interview with Kevin, and then it's just a matter of just how much of an exit is it.
Do you believe that Kevin has coached his final game with the Cleveland Browns?
I don't know for sure. I think there is at least a chance, and I wrote this for today. I think there is at least a chance that maybe they can put their heads together and find a path forward. I think that, that's probably going to be difficult. I wrote that it was hanging by a thread, and so I still think that, that they have an uphill battle to patch this thing up and get it moving forward again. But it's not impossible, and it's happened before. It's happened before with other coaches. And so, you can never say never until you have the final word.
Mary Kay, let's assume he stays or he goes. What does that do for Shador's kind of future and what the Browns are going to do at quarterback?
Well, it depends on who the coach is. It depends on who the coach is, who the coordinator is, who the play caller is, and what they think about Shador and what he can potentially accomplish in their scheme. So he's got to be a scheme fit for whoever that play caller is going to be, and also, a personality fit too. I mean, the coach, play caller, those two guys have to be in lockstep, and we'll have to see how that's all going to go. But I know the Browns really like a lot of what they've seen of Shador Sanders, and at this point I would say he still has a chance to be their quarterback in 2026.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us here on the Fan Hotline. You've written before as well, I think in the past 24 hours, that Andrew Berry's safe in this whole endeavor. Is it surprising to you if it does end up where one gets fired, one is safe between the two that were for so long seen as thought partners and together in a collaborative effort?
Not really, because I never thought that Andrew Berry was anything other than safe. I know how Jimmy Haslam feels about him. I know that he followed orders to knock this draft out of the park, to really nail this draft. That was his mandate that Jimmy gave him at the NFL owners meetings in March, and he did that. He accomplished that. And that may have been the thing that he needed to do to save his job. But once he did that, I think that, he just was Teflon, and nobody could touch him this year after drafting all of these guys, Mason and Carson and Quinshawn, Dillon, maybe the quarterback, maybe Shador will turn into be something for them in terms of QB of the future. So just seeing this draft and what he was able to accomplish, I never had any doubt in my mind that Andrew was safe.
All right, Mary Kay, I'm a big believer in, when a new coach comes in, there's tons of change. And one of the things that's kind of disappointing for me if Kevin's not here is the idea that Jim Schwartz won't be around here. What do they think about Jim Schwartz, and where does his future lie with the Cleveland Browns?
Well, the Browns love Jim Schwartz, so much so that I think that, he'll get an interview for the head coaching job, and depending on what else is out there, he could land that job. I don't know if that will happen, because I do think that they will conduct a comprehensive interview and really be thoughtful and deliberate about this. But in the final analysis, after they go through all of that, they still could land on Jim. I mean, I've long said that I think that he would make an excellent head coach again. And I think sometimes coaches in their second go-around are so much better than they were the first time around. And we all know what he can do with this defense. And I think he's a good leader of men, a good motivator. And I think he's probably even gotten way better at that over the years. And so, I think he would be an excellent candidate. And I don't know where this is going yet, but he'll get an interview, I'm sure.
What are your thoughts on John Harbaugh if he became available? Do the Browns kind of, for me, I don't think he would be a great fit just because he doesn't, he's more of a field guy and an old school football coach where I think, if Andrew Berry's still here, they kind of go down that route where they want a guy who kind of fits into their mold. What are your thoughts on
I told Coach he's crazy for that thought, by the way, Mary Kay.
Well, I tweeted just a little bit ago that if he somehow shook free, I think the Browns would just fall all over themselves to interview John Harbaugh. So that's just what I think of that. And yeah, I could absolutely see that happening the interview happening if for some crazy reason the Ravens let him go.
In a weird way, in trying to think about today's game itself, obviously everything's on Myles Garrett and whether or not he can get this sack. It sets up a nice day for him. Doesn't seem like Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers' keep-away strategy is something that Joe Burrow wants to sign up for. But in a weird way, it'll be overshadowed one way or another by this head coaching search, and I think that's a shame, Mary Kay.
Yeah, I know. It's too bad. He wanted to get it at home in front of the hometown fans. That didn't happen. And now he'll have to get it on the road. No video is going to bust out playing here like it would have in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And I do think that it will get a little bit overshadowed by what's going on with Kevin Stefanski. But, boy, what an interesting interview we had with Myles on Friday where he refused to give Kevin Stefanski a ringing endorsement. I thought that spoke volumes. And then also he did mention that if they are doing more rebuilding, he's not about that.
What did that all tell you?
Well, I think he's going to want some assurances that they have a winning quarterback in 2026. And if they can convince him, if they want it to be Shedeur, and they can convince him of that, then you'll have a happy camper on your hands. And if not, I'm not exactly sure what that means.
That's interesting. All right, Mary Kay. We appreciate you coming on, obviously all season long, but especially today with a very busy day ahead of yourself. Thank you for all the hard work you do and the good job you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, good stuff right there. Mary Kay Cabot, of course, on the fan hotline, as she always is, with a lot of interesting things to say. Meredith, can you pot her down there? My phone line is glitching out on me there. It's a weird thing with the computer. Anyway, Coach, it's fascinating, though, and just thinking about a couple different angles I want to play here. Obviously, we'll go through the reaction and everything about what Mary Kay had to say about Kevin Stefanski, but also just that little nugget there, just within Myles and talking about not only his interview on Friday, but then today, but having a chance to just be completely overshadowed with the head coaching news and the head coaching cycle that exists with so many different head coaches being talked about, but in particular, Kevin Stefanski today. If he does, in fact, break the record, it will not have the ripple effect across the NFL that it should and what it deserves to have. Because when you get it in the final week of the season and you have Black Monday right around the corner, it does have a little bit of it taken away.
Well, you have the idea that, first of all, they're not winning, and it shouldn't be as big if you're not winning. Nothing should be as important as winning, and even though it's been awesome, it doesn't. And because you have those other storylines, that's where you want the Browns to get away from. You want the storylines to be about Burrow and the Browns. That would be the big thing moving forward. You have so many of these conversations that deal with who's the new coach, who's the quarterback. At some point in time, you like the breakdown today. Week 18, where you and I are talking about the matchup up front and who's going to get in the playoffs, and that's just not where we're at yet. But for me, I think the idea that they're not winning takes away from the record more than anything else. It's an incredible accomplishment, especially all the attention he gets from different offenses. But again, winning is the cure is the medicine for everything that ails you.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly right. But it's just. We're going to have such a long off season. It's going to be, and that's good. I like long off seasons, but we're have when it comes to Myles, the idea that it's going to be dependent on the quarterback as it was last year, and the idea that he's going to have to be happy at every single turn, I just don't know that that's feasible for him. But a beautiful thing about Shedeur, if Shedeur does win this out, that does seem like something that would be enough to keep him motivated, enough to keep him like, all right, we're headed in the right direction. We're at least building on this. It's a good sign, at least if you're Shedeur, that Myles would be in your corner in that regard.
Well, I try to, me, I always try to look towards the future and with a positive lens. And I think about this. I think Emerson coming back. Is JOK available? Malik Collins, does he still play at a high level? What is going to go on that defense? They're only going to get better, the rookies. Then offensively, now if Shador's your guy, now you go get a skill guy. You get some veterans up front. The ability to close the gap, even without a ton of money, is not as far off because you're not struggling at every single position. Obviously, you're struggling at the most important position with consistency. But if you feel that you got your guy, now you can fill some holes in pretty quick, especially having those early picks. So I understand what Miles is saying, and if Shador is their guy, it really closes the gap a lot quicker than if he's not.
All right, more on what Mary Kay had to say about Kevin Stefanski. Also, the latest report from Jay Glazer with Fox as well, as he is basically saying that Stefanski's dead man walking. Meanwhile, Mary Kay makes the suggestion that it's not over yet. They might still change their mind. She's not banking on it, but there's obviously a possibility because in her eyes, it's not a closed deal quite yet. Let's get to All Pro or Hell No. That is brought to you by the Valley Automotive Group. That is Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Visit valleysuperstore.com for the better deal. All right, Coach. Hit me with some All Pros or Hell No's.
All right, for both of you and Meredith, we're going to start off with All Pro or Hell No. Cold pizza right out of the fridge with no warming up. Is that All Pro or Hell No?
That's going to be Hell No for me. They've done shows around the idea that cold pizza exists and is good, and I just don't buy into it. I will eat it, but I'm not happy about it. I'd rather heat it up.
I think I'm like on the fence on that one. Sometimes I really need it reheated, but I don't mind straight out of the fridge cold pizza sometimes.
Here's what I will do when I'm really hungry, though. I will take one piece, so I'll put like 4 or 5 pieces on the plate to go ahead and put in the microwave and heat it up, right? Sometimes I go oven, we get a little fancy with it. But I will take one piece to eat as it's being microwaved and warmed up. And so that's my cold pizza. And it's never as good as the heated up version. It's never as good, but I always do it because I'm hungry and it is what it is.
I'm also Hell No. I want mine warmed up. I will eat it. But I will if I'm going cold though. It's back in my younger days. It was the pizza.
Missed Cincinnati Skyline chili opportunity for you right here. By the way,
I did. I thought about it. I thought it was too obvious, but let's stick with pizza.
All right, what else we got?
All right, so All Pro Hell No. Miles goes over 1.5 sacks today.
I'm gonna say Hell No.
I'm going All Pro.
You think he's going to get like 3, 4, 5?
I think he goes off today.
I hope he's got it.
Taylor is getting 5 out. I say he goes.
I hope he does.
Way over.
I hope he does, so that it's not even a conversation, and then people don't bring up the idea that he had 10 sacks in 3 weeks. They don't bring up the idea that week 18, is the reason why all of this existed to begin with. Like I hope he hammers it. I hope he destroys it in a big time way. Meredith, All Pro or Hell No? What do you got?
I'm going to say All Pro, and the reason being is because in Joe Burrow's press conferences this week, it almost sounded like he was expecting. Because we know Aaron Rodgers looked like he was more concerned with avoiding the sack.
Yeah.
It was obvious that Josh Allen was very, very concerned with avoiding the sack. Joe Burrow's like, yeah, he's probably going to get me.
Joe Burrow almost sounded like
Favre-like. Does he go Favre-like today?
Yeah, almost like he was willing to give it to him late in the fourth quarter, if that was the difference. Because he's got enough respect for Myles Garrett as a player, as if I would prefer to have that guy have the record. And so it will not shock me if third, fourth quarter, if he doesn't have one. And then Burrow, I think he'll make it look better. But Burrow does something that is just very obviously putting Myles Garrett in a good spot.
All right, last one here. Shador Sanders goes over 195 today in passing yards.
Oh, my gosh. All Pro. Has to be.
No.
Has to be way more than 195 today. I'm expecting 250 today.
So if I went 250, you would. Okay, let's change it. Let's go All Pro.
No. I would not make the bet on it being 250. That's not a line that the sports books consider to be a good one.
195.
I'm telling you, though, in my head.
You think he's going 250?
I think he's going to have a good game. Yeah, I think he's going to have a good game. Maybe it's not an all-world game, but I think it's going to be a good game.
I'm going to say Hell No. I think he goes under today. I think he plays well, but I think he goes under.
Under 195.
I just don't think they have it. I think he's going to have some good. He's going to have some of your favorites, but he's going to keep the ball short because they don't have a ton without the tight ends. So.
All right, that is All Pro or Hell No, brought to you by the Valley Automotive Group. Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Visit valleysuperstore.com for the better deal. Yeah, might not have the playmakers out there. That's a good point. X Factor the game coming your way next. We'll also get you the latest on what exactly is Kevin Stefanski's tenureship with the Browns. Is it coming to an end today, or does it have a chance to last beyond just tonight into tomorrow. 216-474 to below 92. One more segment left before we get you off to the Browns and the Bengals right here on The Fan.